We're now officially live. Welcome to another Saturday stream, everyone. We usually don't do this because there's usually something that happens earlier in their day, so it really messes with schedules. I'm Adam.
I'm Techpriest.
And this is Greg.
And I've wanted to...
Go.
Okay, I guess I'll go on since he's not going to.
All right. No, I heard you. I thought I heard you
weeks,
speaking because I had the...
I had nothing to say. It's fine. For about 2 weeks, he's been posting to me, hey, we should totally do Dark Eras. We should totally do Dark Eras. Now, because I've never read Dark Eras, I literally drew a blank because I honestly thought we were supposed to do Grug Mage. Then he had to explain to me a couple days ago that, no, that is Dark Eras, dumbass. It's one of the 16 settings in the book.
And then they've released
16
2 other
times
books.
the detail.
Yeah, it's kind of like Thirsty Swords Lesbians, where they had all those campaign settings, but not shit.
They're all good. They're all fucking good, which is the most surprising thing, because the settings range from, again, playing fucking Grug Mage to, hey, let's go to New Zealand and play Ghost Hunters.
In the 1950s of all time.
In the 50s. And it's all good. I will 100% go to bat for this book come hell or high water. I think this is one of the best projects that Onyx Path has ever done. And I think it really starts with the fact that it shows how modular the system is as well. Because it's very easy to make a substitution for you to just play to move your character from one era to the other. You just change your computer skill to Enigmas, your archery for firearms, obviously, and then ride instead of drive, and you're good. You're done. Boom. It's the same sort of thing they did for Dark Era's Vampire back in the day. We'd need to do that at some point. It's a really good book.
It's called Dark Ages, though.
No, sorry, Dark Ages. Yeah, fuck. I got mixed up with this. Also, I think Dark Eras is also a really good title for this. It fits everything with it. It's just edgy enough to not be dumb, I guess would be the way to put it.
I find it more interesting that what they did was they took, because with older White Wolf, they would usually have done separate splats, and they have done this. They do them in forms of booklets. You can just buy the booklet instead.
Yeah.
But I kind of, in olden White Wolf days, before they got destroyed, Onyx Path bought them up, and the rights became a bit fucky.
It's Onyx Path didn't really buy them up. It's weird. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah.
Rights, before the rights exploded, they would have instead have made books probably about 100, maybe 200 pages long per each one.
Such as the book we shall not mention again here, because I fucking love it, and I think it's one of the best things they ever released. Requiem for Rome.
AKA the book that shall not be named. I'm kidding. It's fine. It's a fine book.
Yeah. It's one of the it's retroactively been added basically to Dark Eras.
And speaking of Dark Eras, I'm just going to jump into the introduction.
Yep. I think it does a very good job at setting the tone of this book.
This is also the only 3 paragraphs I've read. The vampire calls himself Peter, though he no longer remembers his original name. He keeps a silver locket with him, always. The portrait inside has long since faded near total obscurity, but he cannot bear to part with it. He does not know why. It had been almost 100 years since a wild and wandering mad thing imbued a corpse with a divine fire, and the thing that calls itself Birch was born. Birch has seen the eras rise and fall, but has never found the path to humanity. Now Birch can feel, with bitter disappointment, the divine fire ebbing from within, and he knows that he does not have much more time. And this is probably the best one of the 3. The ancient journal had been passed from parent to child for 10 generations, following the family from the streets of St. Petersburg to suburban Pennsylvania. It details the Warner family's encounters with the thing that has stalked them through the ages. Kathleen Warner stands over her newborn baby's cradle. The book is on the table beside her. In one hand she has a revolver. In the other she has an iron crowbar. One way or another, it ends tonight. 3 very different creatures, each described in a different way and through different times.
Honestly, it's also a thing to note that World of Darkness, I think, has always sort of implied the idea that the characters that you play probably have a history, maybe in another era, especially if you're playing something like Vampire.
Yeah, it
And you
depends
want
on
to
what you
play
touch. Vampires are the ones. Mummies, definitely. That's their whole thing.
mummies, especially. Yes,
Yeah,
mummies'
but
whole thing is
Mummy has the problem of constant amnesia.
Yep, and
yes.
guys to some degree because of
Guys,
the
somewhat.
Ghost Rider.
Prometheans can live basically forever. Changelings live an extraordinarily long time. Werewolves generally don't.
Mages fluctuate.
Mages can just become immortal if they're willing to sacrifice their humanity to do so.
And last but
Like
not least, demons can as well.
demons are functionally immortal.
Yep.
As long as they're
What's that? Lifespan. What's that?
well, they're quantum beings basically.
Yeah, I was saying
as long as
lifespan. What's that?
yeah.
But it just
As long
kind of
as
gives you that right tone of how long it can go.
Yeah. And it also does a pretty good job at kind of going through. So why would you want to even pick up this book? Why do you want to do any of this?
Which goes to theme and mood, I think.
Yes. So first off, the theme and the mood here is that
it's to provide just enough historical accuracy to be useful to you, the player, and the storyteller. For a chapter about the Dust Bowl to be useful, it needs to include just enough details to feel like the Dust Bowl. But on the other hand, they also want you to have fun, and they don't want you to get dragged into historical minutiae. So
yeah, like they don't want you to get into your autistic arguments about whether or not how the structure of the Imperial Roman army in the 4th century was. Like they don't want you to get bogged down in that shit.
Like they're not like they want you to know. Okay, so Roman legions usually have what are called the limanite, which are your kind of watch guards, and then you have their cohorts, which are your guys. They don't give a fuck which tribe. Like they don't give a fuck if you get the tribe wrong. Like like if some history buff goes, oh no, the Gepids were not remotely in the United Kingdom. You could just be like, who gives a shit?
Fuck off. Who gives a shit at this point? Like I'm telling a story. Like
It's just a barbarian tribe. I don't care.
Weren't there either. I don't give a shit. We're playing
tribe.
Vampires.
That's what the auxiliary are.
Yeah, it's the auxilia. Fuck it. They also, the other thing is that they don't try to twist existing history.
That was a big problem they kind of did
in Old World.
I mean, 5th edition still does it. In fact, they got in a lot of trouble for doing it.
Yes, Vampire Sheshnia. Only slightly shittier than normal Sheshnia.
Who'd have thought using modern figures is a bad idea?
They go into again the 16 different chronicles. This was actually a Kickstarter project where they added more and more as more goals got filled, and they filled out fully to the point where they actually had a second companion book that had to be made because of this book.
In fact, actually, yeah, Dark Eras 2 I think came out either last year or just now.
Yes, last year.
Yeah, wasn't one of the settings King Arthur?
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually good. They even at the end of the section they're like, yeah, we know that this is kind of bullshit, but like, just deal with it. You want to play it? Come on.
Personally, I don't, but if people do, that's fine. It's a good setting. It's a good setting.
Yeah, it's a good setting, and they're like, well, if you don't want to play it with Arthur, just chuck him out. He's not really relevant. The point of the details here is to give you an idea of what Dark Age Britain was like. So
they actually tell you the settings they have. The first one is Mage and Werewolf in the Sundered World, aka the Grug setting.
Grug Mage, Grug Werewolf. This is Neolithic. This is not Stone Age really, because we've sort of gotten into metalsmithing. We're not living in caves. We're building houses. We're on everywhere on the planet at this point.
You say metalsmithing, but it's more like we found some stuff on the surface.
We are
Yeah, I mean-
irrigating. We are irrigating.
Well, we're not
Not even
just
there.
irrigating.
Not even there yet. We know how to farm crops, and we know how to
We know how to herd animals. We know how to farm crops. We know how to build.
maybe build a ditch to prevent flooding, and that's about it.
Yeah. We're still very much tied to the land, and the whole thing about this is actually set in a very interesting area of the world at the time, which is the Danube River Basin, which is on.
It's the Balkans. For
yeah.
those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting area, and there's a lot of archaeological history there that's fascinating. I really do encourage you to look into it yourself, because it's where the steppes and the kind of the classical area of civilization sort of meet, and it's where we got a lot of other stuff out of that confluence.
Well, technically, the culture that you're a part of contributed basically fuck nothing. They got destroyed.
They died out, but they left a lot of other stuff behind.
They left cool stuff, but the thing is, it's just, hey, we found this weird culture around the Danube that could have potentially been a cradle, but it got smothered in the crib. Because that happened a couple times before.
It happened
and then
all
five,
over.
and then five.
Like, to give you an
different people
idea,
had one
2,000 years before then, a similar thing happened in Turkey.
Yeah, like the fact is that there's a lot of.
And I think another one happened in the
stumbling
Saharan
starts.
desert too.
Yeah, because the Sahara at the time was actually a lush green
So
savanna.
it's more like, it was like savannah.
Let's just put it this way: there is no ancient homeland for everyone because everyone moved somewhere at some point.
Yes. Aside from maybe like one African tribe somewhere in like the Congo,
or like one of those many steppe tribes.
Not even
who
in the
knows?
Congo. It'd have to be like some Ethiopian tribe because that's where the first Homo sapiens.
Yeah, you're right. It would be.
You're not the first. Like no one was. Very few people were ever the first. That's still there. Were the first people.
Yeah.
Your ancestors probably kicked someone out to get there.
Or another human out. Anyway, moving on to the next one.
Pure mage. It's purely mage. It's to the strongest, which, if you're a big fan of the
one.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a big fan of the lore books, because I know a lot of people who do play games like these games love the setting books and like the Covenant books and whatever.
This is where that all begins.
Describes the origins of mages, different colleges and whatever.
This is where the meta plot of Mage the Awakening sort of goes, and Mage the Awakening doesn't have much of a meta plot, but this is like where it starts.
Basically,
like this is where the term Atlantis comes from. This is where the orders come from. This is where the seers come from.
Basically, Alexander. Before then, mages had their own separate orders and that did their own things.
Cults, as
their
we
own
call the
cults,
cults,
orders, that sort of thing.
But Alexander bulldozing across the ancient world brought them all into contact with each other.
And then before he died, he actually started building something. They don't know what, though.
Yeah.
Because he's dead.
Because he's fucking dead, yeah. And if you don't know what happened to Alexander's empire after he died, it goes into actually a bit of detail on that. To give you a basic rundown, shit went whack-yo.
Succession crisis.
It gets even fun. The best part is when his body was being brought to procession to Palace, got ambushed by Ptolemy. Ptolemy ambushed the procession goers, stole the corpse, and then entombed him in Alexandria.
Brought him to Alexandria because, of course, he'd want to be in Alexandria, not where he was born. Why would he want to go back there to that shithole?
he did everything in his power to never go back there.
He wanted to be buried in Babylon, actually, which is what makes this even funnier. And
here's an interesting one: Geist and Changeling in the Three Kingdoms period of China.
Yes. Are you ready for some Taoist philosophy and ghosts and Dragon Ball Z style antic names and charging your attacks? Because that's how you power things in Changeling sometimes.
It is an age of ambition and strife where the hungry dead walk the earth in great numbers, and the lost must rely on their own kingdoms.
There were so many fucking dead people in the Three Kingdoms era. It's actually crazy.
Uncountable. Pretty much uncountable.
It's pretty much uncountable. It's like the collapse of the Roman Empire on steroids.
The next one, this one is one that I know that the group I usually game with would probably get a hoot out of. It's a werewolf and guys, wolves of the sea, basically Viking Age.
We're going raiding.
Swedish werewolves marching ashore.
Yep, just cue the Sabaton, cue the whatever. The next one's out, and also an interesting one, which is the fall of the last bit of Rome.
Post Ottoman conquest demon.
Yep, this is after the death of Rome completely. Like, there is not a Rome after this. There's a bunch of people that claim to be Rome.
What are you talking? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The Kaiser.
I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking punch you.
There's the 4 Romes, because you forget the most important Rome of all.
Which one? Finland?
No, Mexico.
Oh, right.
No,
it's a bit of a joke.
Speaking of,
actually, it'd be France.
Jokes aside, this is just a question for the next sitting. To describe to an idiot like me, what's the difference between werewolf and skin changers?
Skin changers specifically are not born that way. Skin changer, well, they can be, but it's rare. Skin changers generally actually take the skin of an animal and use that to transform. They're basically skin thieves. There was a splat book.
It's a splat book. That one's unique. It's literally just.
It's a very unique one. It has a bunch of other stuff. It's where they brought in like a lot of concepts from Old World in the first time before they started to do the War Against the Pure changing breed style stuff to allow you to say, like, you want to play Raven shifters? Here's an idea for that. Fox shifters, here you go. Dragor shifters, knock yourself out. Elephant shifters too, which is actually a really cool one. It's people that literally cut a hole in an elephant and climb inside the elephant.
Oh, so they're doing the Ace Ventura method. The Ace Ventura method.
Yeah,
they do.
And it's just during the Aztecs' eternal sacrifice wars, because a lot of people forget that the Aztecs believed you have to sacrifice a certain amount of people a day to keep the sun fueled.
At least one person a day. At least one person.
Blood for the blood gods.
Well, it's not even that. It's to keep the sun burning and to prevent the earth monster from waking up and killing, because they believed they were the 5th race of men created.
It's also to help cut down on overpopulation, get rid of political dissidents. There's a lot of reasons to engage in human sacrifice.
Oh no, that was not the logic of the Aztecs at all.
It just helped,
it just helped.
It helped a little.
There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why they did it. Also for because meat's yummy. They would eat people.
People forget the original chili. Like, if you ever ran into a Texan, if you've ever met a very persnickety Texan that gets angry about the chili not being original, chop off his arm, render the meat into a bowl, and then turn that into chili.
That's
Don't forget
the original
to include
chili.
dog. Don't forget to include dog.
But then we move to the fancy places of England.
Nope. Well,
no,
actually,
Requiem for Regina. That Elizabethan England.
Yes, I said that's after Skin Changers. Yeah, after Skin Changers, we come back to
Vampire. I was at Fallen Blossom. Sorry about that.
Yeah, my eyes went right to Fallen.
Yeah, I was about to say I want to do the thing too, but let's at least acknowledge it exists.
Yeah, Requiem for Regina is actually a pretty decent setting.
See, we've done Victorian Vampire so much, like, oh god, it's so many times.
It's not Victorian.
It's Elizabethan.
Come on, don't you want even drunker England vampires?
Come on, don't you want a vampire to fucking
kill Shakespeare?
No, you want them to fucking give him horrible visions. That's what made him come up with King Lear.
Yeah.
Come on, don't you want to be like the Nosferatu ale tester?
That would be fun.
Where you just slope around on your hunchback wearing the ale britches to sit on benches, and then you get to smash the face of the bartender if you stick to the bench.
Yep,
that's an actual job.
Yep. The next one's actually really, really good.
It's also one of the Hunter books. It's also one of the only Hunter books.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a Hunter only
Fallen
one.
Blossoms. This is your Weeaboo fantasies come to life.
This is literally just playing just after the unification of Japan.
And it's right before the Edo period is codified.
Yeah.
Because I think this is around the time where Ieyasu just died.
Yep. So Edo is growing massively, the city that would become Tokyo. And of course, whenever you get a bunch of people somewhere, a bunch of supernatural nasties come there, and so basically you're playing a group of hookers, merchants, demon babies,
and
pearl
Ronin.
divers, and
Ronin.
Ronin they're all banding together to kill yokai, and they go into some actual yokai, which I think is quite fun too. I absolutely love yokai. They're quite amusing. Yeah. The next
this
one
one's
is
good. Changeling, Age of Reason under Louis XIV.
Yes, this is the Sun King's court. So
Changeling
it's
Sun King court.
Yes, it's very much based off of like the swashbuckling Baroque
Your Three Musketeers
attitude, Three Musketeers style
If you've
stuff.
ever read Dumas, this would be what you'd be doing.
Yes, it's very much meant to go into that.
Also, the Count of Monte Cristo would also count.
Oh yeah, you're right. It would be. The next one is actually really interesting, especially if you're like me and a weird person into like folklore of the American colonies.
You know what? I
just
just realized that's kind of sad. They didn't have an English Civil War setting.
That I really miss that. I think that was a miss. They should have. That would have been fun too.
But we got New England folklore here. We've got Salem. We've got the devil living.
You are the witch hunters in Massachusetts colony.
Except just try and kill less girls who are going through a rebellious phase. And
that's the problem.
No, the girls going through the rebellious phases.
Yeah, and I'm saying hopefully you'll kill more witches than girls going through their ministering.
You didn't kill those guys.
The girls were the girls didn't usually do it.
I'm making a joke.
They were the ones pointing at.
I know this.
Yeah, they were the ones that were going into fucking fits because
of religious mania. Poisoning.
Or got poisoning, religious mania, and the fact that like they literally believed that if you didn't speak English correctly, you were probably possessed.
I'm just envisioning though being a hunter because I want to get this point across. You're trying to do your job. You're like there's werewolves stalking, like there's werewolves from like the Mohawk tribe murdering children or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with like these 13-year-old girls going into religious fits, pointing the blame on just Trapper John, who just happens to speak a bit of French as a patois.
Yeah, because he's French.
Because
therefore
he's from
Catholic.
Quebec, Quebec province, just selling his furs.
Or wait. If you get that reference.
Basically, just watch The Crucible. You'll get a good idea of this.
Watch The Crucible, but then include the part where that's distracting you from your real job.
Yeah, that's the distraction. The next one's also kind of interesting, which is the 1820s to 1840s Changeling the Lost.
Changeling, with Grimm's fairy tales.
Yes, about the codification of the fairy tales. And sort of what that does to the fabric of the Fae as well, because remember, the Fae reflect human stories in many ways. So their natures just change. Their natures are changing a bit, yeah. It's slow, but it's happening. Yeah. The next one's actually really cool.
Oh God! It's going through the Khedivate of Egypt, mummies, the curse, ruins of the empire.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, this is literally
this is currently one of my
favorites. Return the slab or suffer my wrath.
You get to play Brendan. You get to play the mummy that kills Brendan Fraser in the. Wait, no, that wasn't the mummy movie.
You get to play. I think it's Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
You get to play a generic woman here from Tom Cruise action movie number 57.
You get to play silent movie trailer because they forgot to dub in the fucking sound effects and everything.
That was such an awful movie too. Like it had one good part in it. One good part, and that was Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll.
No, that's not a good part. That's
compare
the
that to the rest of
part.
Compare that to the rest of it. Okay? Like that's the good part.
No, because that's them saying, "Hey, asshole! Here's all these other terrible movies you're gonna have to watch. Have fun."
No, it's a good part because he was having fun with it. Unlike Tom Cruise.
No, dude. Here's the problem with your logic.
Tom Cruise was not having fun with that movie.
He wasn't. But here's your logic problem. This would be like, let's say, during the original Iron Man movie. But imagine if the Iron Man movie was shit, right?
Yeah.
They then have like a bit where they get like a surprisingly good actor for the Hulk to appear. and you're going,
Oh,
oh
shit,
no,
yeah.
I have to.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no, they're hinting they're gonna make a Hulk movie, and it's by the same crayon-eating monsters that made this. That's
Yeah.
why I'm not happy about why you're thinking this is good. This is like if during Space Jam: A New Legacy they hinted, oh yeah, we're making the Wile E. Coyote movies like in there, and you gotta get to see that little nod. And yes, they're planning on making a Wile E. Coyote movie. It's gonna be terrible.
Well, yeah, we already knew that. The next one is one of Adam's favorites, just
Oh
overall.
yes, Handful
this
of
is
Dust. The
handful. This
Great
is
Depression,
Dustful Promethean.
which is perfect because that's basically their blight.
Yeah, it's actually quite good. The next one is the weirdest one in the book that everybody when they looked over the setting list went, "What the fuck are you smoking?"
You know, it'd be
And
funny
I
as if it
cannot
was the
blame
last
them.
one on the expansion list.
It wasn't.
Imagine if it was though, and people were just putting money just so they could
People
get it.
voted for this, by the way. People voted for this one.
Well, it's so weird that wouldn't you?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just sort of a. But the next question then is why Geist? And
Why not Geist?
that's also a good point, but at the same time, it's like why not Mage? Why not? But then again, Mage had many more.
Think about it. You channel the soul of dead Maori warriors from
Promethean.
World War II that just got home, and they have final things to say to their family after dying in the war.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. But
there's some charm there.
There is some charm in it, yeah. I'll give you that.
And it also is highlighting the Maori and New Zealand, Europeans having a bit of a clash at this time.
Yeah. The next one is honestly one of the best settings of the book, like just flat up.
Oh shit!
This is Cold War Demon. This is Cold War Berlin Demon, and they go into the fact that the city itself is basically become a giant infrastructure project for the God Machine. It's crazy.
Also, Soviet scrutiny is making it harder for demons to hide.
Yes.
My big complaint is they kind of accidentally whoopsed here by writing, and the God Machine's plans didn't end with the war. Not a big fan of that. Bit of a yikes there.
They imply that the God Machine had a hand in the Second World War. Yeah.
That's a bit of a yikes.
Well, that's the thing with God Machine, though, right? It has a hand in
involved
basically
with everything. It's involved with everything.
You say that, but at the same time, it's like they try to avoid what they did in Old World.
Yeah.
So it's a bit.
It's horrible. A bit of a yeah. The next one is one of the other like I'm not really sure why, but okay.
Gangs
New York
of
City,
New
come
York
on,
Werewolf.
it's the big Ron Apple. It's the big Ron Apple.
It's 6970s New York.
Gangster it's the big Werewolf.
Okay, Mafia Werewolf. Fine,
not
let's
Mafia
go for
Werewolf. Gang Werewolf. Like
this
Warriors
is the 70s.
Werewolf.
It would have been. All right, Street Gang Werewolf. Sure, why not?
This is Werewolf when all the homeless people when you couldn't you had to jump over the homeless people. Oh, the
you have to do a skateboard jump over homeless people to get into the gang. That would be an awesome gang. I'm just saying, I would join that gang out of principle.
And it goes into things like death and tragedy, about how natural disasters are a big thing.
And humanity.
That's another theme. A man can be its own worst enemy.
People are shit.
They also go into like that. Even if players want to take it into a realistic dark place, don't just fuck them over. Like they basically tell the GM, okay, like this is stuff that includes like some really dark themes in it sometimes,
like human sacrifice, slavery, murder,
imperialism, witchcraft trials, things like that. Like, also don't limit characters. If somebody wants to play something, let them play it, but portray the world around them as kind of shitty about it.
English Civil War is a good one for Dark Era 3, but you know what I just came up with that's horrible?
What?
Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution period.
Oh god, they sort of did that.
We're not getting that sold in China.
They don't sell in China anyway.
I know, making it. Yeah, you know the joke though.
I'm just highlighting that would be
that in Vampire actually.
Or if you don't want that, you could also have
Mummy. No, Mummy.
Mummy Great Leap Forward would be interesting.
Come on,
Oh
can't you see it?
shit!
Can't you see it? Destroy
I
the
can see
old!
it.
Destroy the old!
I can see it. I'm
Also,
not sure if I
also,
want to though.
here's another good one. Demon, 1989. 1989, fall of the...
1989 demon. Actually, Albanian Civil War demon. Let's do that one.
That's actually more obscure, and I like that.
Albanians, okay, if you don't know, guys, the Albanian Civil War basically started because the entire country got sucked into a variety of pyramid schemes. Including like the upper levels of the government. They couldn't really do anything about it because the mafia was involved over in Italy, but that was also the Albanian part of the Italian mafia, which is just makes things even weirder. And it basically culminates in to display the idea of how far society degraded so quickly. Is really the first notable incident of the Civil War. Is there was a guy that robbed a bank using a rocket launcher. He didn't actually fire it. He just walked into a bank with a rocket launcher and demanded all the money.
Oh, I have another good one. Ivan the Terrible Hunter.
Ooh, that could be fun too.
I would if we're going dystopia. Everyone like kind of slightly dystopian. It's not vampire, but changeling Wallachia after Vlad.
That could be
That's
cool.
a good one.
Not during Vlad, after more or less the aftermath of his reign of terror and subsequent many wars that destroyed the region.
Yep.
Changeling / Geist for that one.
God, I can only imagine the horrible spirit realm that would be Wallachia at this period.
I got another one.
Weird...
Abbasid Promethean.
They sort of, I mean, I guess you could just adapt just rip Beast out of the 1001 Nights setting and just do that.
Not one. I think Promethean Umayyads.
That's also good.
Spain.
That's also really
Spain.
cool.
But, especially Andalusia, because remember, one of the most famous Muslim thinkers.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah,
where came from there.
Do it for Deviant as well. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, but we're getting
Dark Eras 2. Dark Eras 2 is actually the first look we got at Deviant, which is kind of sad because the book got delayed because of art issues. I think.
Yeah. But before we move on, I do like to look at the chat, so let me do that. It's always fun to look at chat. Ready to cast Fireball as a Cro-Magnon mage. Would be like tossing a branch. Why would I want to swap out my firearms for archery? Caveman with guns is basically magic already. Is White Wolf owned by the EVE Online operators? Yeah. The rights
they were. Then they collapsed and they got sold.
There's no zombie mage caused Bronze Age collapse. That would have been another one I would have done.
Bronze Age collapse would have been a fun one. Yeah.
Bronze Age collapse mage and like maybe vampire.
Actually, no. Bronze Age collapse. Geist would be a fun one.
Bronze Age collapse, Geist, mage, and maybe demon.
Demon would be the best one for it.
Bronze Age collapse, demon, and mage.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with mage is that mage can just get shoehorned into everything, and that's kind of what happened with this book.
Demon's good. I like that one.
I do think demon would be the best for it because it's the first time that a large, intricate network of civilizations that we know of collapsed completely.
So elephant
Mummy would also be
meat
fun
punk
for it
mecha
too.
pilots. Elephant shifters are why? Yep. Hey, someone actually saw that episode. Why are you running?
Why are you running?
Honestly, I think I just thought of it. Bronze Age collapse mummy.
Yeah,
Bronze Age collapse mummy and demon would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
They don't forgive and stampede you to the ground. Yeah, you get to control creepy as fuck scarabs. Yup. Darkers, alt settings for World of Darkness. Aren't demons like rebelling programs? Yeah, they're basically rogue AI.
Yeah, they're essentially like Agent Smith from the Matrix.
Shot Franz Ferdinand, probably.
I would not be surprised.
Got conned into an MLM war. I shoot rebelling angels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Albania's the Florida of Eastern Europe.
That's 100% true. You're not lying. That's true.
All right, moving on. So, this is actually one of the things that makes this book, from what you've told me, good. They describe how skills translate.
Yes.
Firearms is a skill that you see in Chronicles of Darkness, and it shows how you can substitute it for archery. Or since we're going to talk about Grug Mage at the end of this, addle usage.
Yes, they basically specify that it includes stuff like an addle-addle. Like if you're playing that far back, yes, it just represents range combat. You can also use strength plus athletics for throwing things, but this is more like specific like usage.
The firearm skill does not exist in any game set before 1500. Bullshit. Chinese had fire lances, man.
Yeah, but they're basically, that's what they say. The fire lances weren't exactly aimable. Those things were.
I aim in your general direction.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
just making fun.
So they basically say for that case use strength plus athletics because you're basically just kind of bodying it on target.
You're ghost riding the whip. Yep.
Yeah.
Unlike guns, bows are almost impossible to conceal. Not in these modern times.
Not with modern folding Hawkeye bows, yeah, but
but in the olden
back
days,
in the
yeah.
Day. Well, there were hand crossbows, but like those were way late.
20 arrows weighed more than a pound and had to be carried in a quiver. They're just explaining that the logistics of basically this is to tell the power gamers who get the trench coats. It doesn't matter what you fucking do. This bow is gonna be seen.
This bow, you're not hiding a bow.
You're not going to be able to hold like a million guns like you do every time they're. Let me give a name for this person. Brett. Okay, Brett, actually, Brett. You're not going to be able to hold. But come on, bows. You could like hide it in my. The bow is like 4 foot long, jackass.
Bro, I'm a troll, and it's a collapsing bow.
In 900 Scandinavia.
Yeah, we're playing Shadowrun, aren't we? I fucking love troll archers. They're so dumb. It's the least optimal way to play Shadowrun, arguably, and I love it.
Why am I doing this?
As a result, nobody learned archery for self-defense. Well, yeah, most of the time for self-defense, that's what your stabbing stick is for.
That's what the dagger was for.
That's what a dagger or just a whacking stick was for.
Or a spear.
Or your hands, oftentimes, too. Wrestling was often considered a very essential part of self-defense.
Archers was how you got your food, yeah.
Yeah, this was for food or for killing dissidents.
Or, because even then, like in the olden days, they preferred slings because it was even cheaper, and it was great to scare off, like, foxes, cattle.
Wild animals, basically. Like, the reason why David has a sling is literally so that he can scare off, like, random wild animals.
Because that's old school, yeah.
I mean, some of the later Roman slingers would literally just take lead bullets. Like, they'd actually make lead bullets you wouldn't see out of place in later firearms, and they'd put those in their slings to chuck at people.
You forget the best part, which is where they also engrave insults into the lead shot.
They would. They would.
Take this. Have this.
It's like good luck dodging. Avoid this. Gotcha.
They basically.
Which just goes to show, which along with all the dick drawings in Roman graffiti, shows that humanity's comedic nature has not really changed.
From Philippos to you.
From Philip, I think that there was another one that was basically
Lucius was here, carved on Hadrian's wall.
One of my favorite ones was the two dudes who reviewed the prostitutes.
There was like Julius and some other guy.
Julius and Aeneas or something like that.
Yeah.
Like we came here, we fucked several women, and we had a good time. That was literally what they wrote on the walls.
So anyway, archery. Yeah, basically it's your firearms.
It's firearms. Just replace it for firearms. It functions basically the same. Dramatic failures work a little bit differently because your ammunition isn't going to explode.
I'm just envisioning Brett going, "Okay, get into the cart." Brett, this is Edo period.
All right, get in the
Japan.
chariot. Get in the chariot, then.
They don't have those in Edo period Japan.
Fine, bro. Like, then just get on the fucking Gundam.
Yeah. If you're playing with one of those players, your game's hopeless from the start.
Your game's screwed.
Your game's fucked. I'd still play it. I would hate to be the GM. I'd love to be one of the other players.
Enigmas for computers. So this one's a little more
squibbly, but basically they had a problem with Requiem for Rome, which is their first attempt at doing an ancient setting. where they replaced computers with religion, which didn't really make sense.
That would probably be like its own thing.
Academics. It just would go under academics.
Yep.
Like,
it'd be one of your specialties.
Because learned people back then were probably religious.
Basically, until around the late 1600s, religious education was considered part of any general university education.
Yeah,
which is why a lot of the founding fathers were which is why a lot of the founding fathers were deists, which was basically like the hip way to say, like, I'm not sure about the actual nature of God, guys. Like, this shit's a little wonky.
Don't ask. We
don't ask.
And they talk about the abacus. They actually go into the history of computation machines.
Yes.
And how the first true mechanical calculator appeared in the mid 1600s. By the way, that was a clunky piece of shit. I know what they're talking about.
It was awful. But it worked, which is
it was the first
step. Calculating with their fucking hands, though.
Yeah, you'd either do it with your hands or with like the dirt.
In the time it took for you to math it out yourself, that you could do like 2 equations for the one that piece of shit could. That piece of shit would always get it right, but it took too long.
They even go through like complex systems with.
One thing I've got to ask is
1851. Oh, is that they're talking about the differential engine there?
Yes, they are. Which is the first really reliable one, but it just never caught on.
So anyway, Enigma basically it replaces computers, and it is the art of puzzles.
Yeah,
and riddles.
Puzzles,
and conundrums.
Puzzles, conundrums, riddles, ciphers, because also just decrypting languages to some degree. Which, again, makes sense.
It's a little clunky, but basically, rather than accessing the light box to use the power of Google, ironically, if you have Enigma in your character now, you're probably
a crypto nerd.
You're amazing. You have more applied skills than the art of using a computer to look up things.
Yeah.
Like
it's a good skill.
In Enigma.
I'd honestly consider throwing it into a modern setting as well, like just adding it as another skill option.
And it's possessed by occultists, scholars, and spies.
Yep. Because God knows
the Omni tool.
Yep. They even mentioned that this isn't just to skip a fucking plot. Like, no. Enigmas will help you decipher the code, but you might not understand it because there might be another code underneath it.
Or alternatives like, aha, I've managed to get 3 successes, and it's in an abjad in a language I can't understand. I could just
I can't understand the language. I just know that it's definitely a language.
Here's the repeating patterns. Here would be where the pronunciation. Here's where the punctuation would be.
Wait, is this in like vernacular or is this an official? Because like there's a major difference between these 2 words here and that one.
And he doesn't know. He doesn't know because he's using Latin script, and this isn't like fucking Church Slavonic in Cyrillic.
Yeah, like what's happening? You know, I love like how you get people in all those movies that go into an ancient tomb and they're like looking at the hieroglyphs on the wall and they're like, yes, they're reading on an ancient curse, and then real life Egyptologists are basically like, so we think that this might mean this, but it could also just be him talking about how big his dick is. We're not 100% sure on that.
I'm just envisioning some dude, like, not the Omni tool, I'm just envisioning a dude with, like, 3 Enigma. He pulls out, like, the equivalent of the Rosetta Stone going, okay, here's how we're going to figure this out. This is in Latin. We can read Latin, right? It says, like,
do you have academics?
And
Shit.
He does.
He does. All right,
no one
so
else
we're
does.
Playing telephone. We're playing telephone before
Latin.
Telephones were invented.
This is Greek. This is Aramaic. No, this is Greek, and this is New Age Coptic, New Egyptian
and
Coptic.
This is
the hieroglyph.
Egyptian.
This is the hieratic hieroglyphs that was used by the priests.
Were these the simplified or the expanded? Fuck!
Hell if we know.
Hell if we know.
There's only 100 words on here, and if it's not one of those 100 words, I'm just gonna have to guess.
We're just gonna have to...
Gets like 5 successes. Okay, so either this is describing that if we open this, we'll awaken a mummy, or it's exaggerating how large his testicles were.
And beyond that, like in Enigma, most of the skills it really doesn't require.
It's 1 per 1.
It just requires a little brain power on your parts.
It's not even require brain. Like gun to bow is no brain.
No, I mean like medicine. We don't mean fucking modern medicine. It means modern medicine at the time, you dingus.
Wait,
Like,
so
yeah,
I
like,
can't
you're
just take a penicillin and not die?
Yeah, like this
Just
is
because you
like
have 5 in medicine, just because you have 5 in medicine,
Yeah, if I have
doesn't
medicine,
mean
Congratulations,
yeah,
Brett. You managed to put the leech on perfectly. Wait, what? I thought
if I,
I thought I suture. Bro, this is before we invented
well, they
alcoholic
actually,
septic.
well, suturing was actually an old practice.
I
People
know, but I'm like,
have done that for a while.
I meant
Yeah,
painkillers. What are those?
painkillers though.
like,
Actually,
wait, I
those?
give him an aspirin. No. You have to
I
grind the
wanna know
willow
something
bark,
that's
Your idea of a painkiller is hitting him in the head with a rock.
or giving him a lot of booze.
So I want to know something fun for Requiem for Regina though. For the having a 5 in medicine implies that you are very, very familiar with the taste of human piss, and you are also a master astrologer. Those were the 2 of the most important skills for any Elizabethan physician.
I love it.
Dead serious.
I know. It's still funny.
If you have at least academic 3 or more, you have some familiarity with Latin and Greek. Without even
Also,
taking
by the way,
any
if you have
merit.
5 science, if you have like 3 science in the Roman collapse era, you know that the Earth is round.
Well, that was actually pretty common knowledge.
Well, common
I
knowledge.
mean,
I wouldn't say it's probably something most people. Most people don't know because it just didn't matter. Yeah, it didn't fucking matter because it just didn't fucking matter that the Earth was round or flat.
Unless they were a sailor, then it mattered. But then they kind of already knew already because of the horizon line.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say it's not science 5. It's like science 3. Like you know a lot of things about the world.
Also, streetwise doesn't really change because sleazy shit happens everywhere you go.
Yeah, people like talk about like the decay of the modern American city, and I'm just like, bruh, this is still better than it was in Rome. I don't want to talk to you about Rome, where on any given street you could be mugged.
One of these days, we will find graffiti where someone actually uses, unironically, biggest dickus on a fucking graffiti.
Yeah, like shit has not changed since the first cities. There's always a bad neighborhood. There's always a bad side of town. There's always the place where you don't want to be at night if you're not a local. That shit doesn't change.
So anyway, Underworld.
Also, one here. Oh, this is really unrelated, dumb. But in relation to how they mentioned Uruk, this is just a funny thing. Did you know they found another addition to the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Yes, I hope this is about how like because there's
it involves monkeys. It involves monkeys.
Oh my god, you're kidding! Oh, this is I'm excited. Like I'm unironically excited now.
Just a little fun fact. Just fun fact there since they mentioned
it's
Uruk.
About okay, so is this Gilgamesh getting a monkey friend? Because I want it to be about Gilgamesh doing a side quest to get a monkey friend.
It might be.
I really do. This is like waiting for another chapter of like a really long-running series of something.
I'll share it in the chat.
Unironically really happy. So
I'm looking at the photo of a big reptilian thing, a dog. And
that's actually a picture of the head is actually based on a real Vinca statue.
How horrible!
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
They are famous because of their statuary. Basically, that's how we know that they were their own culture. That and their copper working.
Philodox sits cross-legged, the heart of spiral of history. His sanctum is laid out in a trail of relics and trinkets from across the ages, cascading backwards and backwards through eras as they come closer to the mage at the center. What is this, the plot line of Uzumaki? At the edges of our mobile phones, wires, plastic wrappers, they lead to a trail of bullet casings, metals, tattered pieces of fabric, on, plunging deeper in time. A preserved charred fragment from the Great Fire of London, a coin minted in the reign of King Philip the Fair of France, detritus from the first millennium from a dozen digs across North Africa, then further back still to scraps of iron and bronze, pieces of pottery, till the spirals are so deep in the past that all traces of humankind dry up completely. All but for the objects that lie directly before them. Torn from the ground in the Balkans, these are as old a sign of human civilization as Philodox has ever seen. He reaches for the first relic, begins the ritual, and time unfolds before them. And it goes on to the dig items that are actual dig items. These things are real dig items that they mentioned.
Yeah, these are actual things. These are actual objects.
So like the bone dagger carved with unknown symbols. Wow, I'm mush-mouthed today. Dawn's light touches a crumbling old hut beyond dry, cracked pastures. Faded colors of an ancient mat on the threshold. Human air stirring sluggishly, tussling the braids of human hair nailed to the hut's frame. Darkness within shifts. She emerges, the blade of sharpened bone tightly in her grasp. Cattle blood drips down its length and from her hands. She straightens up, looks across the gathered crowd, men and women of simple garments of leather, cotton, and flax. And yes, flax was one of the first woven fibers that we've used. Their expressions read as a mixture of fear, anticipation, and veneration. She speaks, a language that has not left human tongues for millennia, but Philodox's spell reveals the meaning. The streams are bitter, from the tears of a god, she announces. It is racked with sorrow at the state of the world, and the misery has entered the water. I will go to the hills where the spring lie, and return to you when I've appeased it. So, literally trying to appease a water spirit.
Yeah.
And there's different interpretations for all of these.
Yes. I quite love this intro section, really, because it gives you... Also, the art's really good, too. Honestly, I love the picture.
I mean, I like the creepy head.
That's an actual mask that they found.
That's what I mean. I like the head. The art's, I think, kind of just okay. The actual use of the real mask, though, is pretty great. Kind of gives me it gives me like one of the Metroidvania game vibes.
Yeah, the really impressive
like
bit about
Hollow
the section
Knight
is that
vibes, actually.
Yeah, the thing I love about this section is they actually go into detail. They actually don't just go, okay, y'all have clubs. They say, no. The first thing they fucking do is they sit you down and they say, look, these people had stone tools, yes, but they weren't retarded. Like,
and here we go, the Sundered World. This is Grug Mage. We finally got the Grug Mage, people.
We finally got to Grug Mage an hour in because the intro was too good not to talk about.
Actually, no. There will be one more cucking because I want to see what people are talking about in the stream.
Oh.
Blue balls. Balkans, Eastern Europe. Geist, Mage, or Vampire Khmer Rouge. I think Geist would be perfect.
They mentioned
for Khmer
Vampire.
Rouge.
They mentioned Vampire for Khmer Rouge.
If this was Old World of Darkness, Wraith would be perfect for it.
Yes.
Can I dual wield longbows? English longbow. Good luck hiding that under Gambison. Bows were for food or for killing dissidents, so it was food or for food.
Yeah.
Glorious Nippon steel addle. I want to compute for the Lord. So Enigma references the Polish code machines the Germans used during World War II. Nice touch there. Instead of some prescribing piece and temple, you carve a hole into head. His hurdy brain spirits can now leave.
This is an actual procedure that we've got records of people surviving.
The first brain surgery was tepening.
The first eye surgery happened in India.
Yes.
And
the
actually,
Indians also pioneered
before Alexander. The first eye surgery happened before Alexander's time in India.
They also came up with plastic surgery first.
Yep,
there was a guy that would figure out a way to replace noses. It was really disgusting, but he could kind of make it look like a real nose.
The first prosthetics and casts were Egyptian.
Yes,
the Egyptians were the first to set bones and to actually create replacement limbs.
They were the first to really do elaborate replacements.
Yep.
Mostly for mummies. To represent the things that were missing.
Gilgamesh returns the monkey. Sad thing is, the progress of time will get another discovery of Gilgamesh arc back before another Berserk chapter. Yeah.
Don't make me sad. Don't make me sad about Berserk.
Okay, let's make things better. Grug Mage, finally.
Grug Mage. All right.
The Sundered World.
So the first thing to note is that I love the fucking quote here from David Hume.
Mankind are so much the same in all times and places that history informs us of nothing new or strange in this particular. Its chief use is only to discover the constant and universal principles of human nature.
Which is very much the sense of this, which is we play gods. Mages have always been dicks. This will not change ever.
We play God, and
nature go too far.
Gone too far. Must return to monk.
Yeah. They also mentioned this is truly a world of darkness. There is no artificial light beyond fire. There is no cities at this point as we understand them.
This is when the primordial fears of man really.
When nights are lit only by the stars and moon, the world is encompassed by wilderness, untamed and untrammelled. The domain of fierce beasts and spirits. It's the paradise of the hunt, where predators can pursue quarry across the boundaries of the realms of existence itself. Humanity
This is where
does not rule here. To many of the denizens of this ancient landscape, humanity should be nothing but prey.
That's the other thing. Remember how, like, in New Werewolf, there's the Father Wolf in the fall, the time when the gauntlet was built?
That didn't happen yet.
That has not happened yet. This is when that happens.
The Beastmen roam the wilds.
Yeah.
The denizens are wrong. Humanity's shedding its place in the cycle of the hunt and taking a new mantle. The people of the Neolithic have girded themselves with hard-won secrets wrenched from the world.
They basically mention a lot of other stuff. This is an actual thing that they mentioned that this is a weird time for mage, because this is basically mage before mage is mage. You're the stuff that makes awakening. I mean, the Arcana are still there, but the Exarchs aren't there yet. Or if they are not talking to anybody. The Atlantis, nobody knows what Atlantis is. They just know that there's something there.
Yep, the Awakens are just known as the Wise. They lack the mystic culture of mages that will one day span the globe.
You are the shamans.
You're shamans
that kill yourself to summon the Emperor.
Yeah, there's no seers, there's no exarchs, there's no pinnacle.
There's nothing. It's just
there's no
communities.
Concept of sleeping either.
Yeah, because why would there be? Everybody knows that there's spirits. Everybody knows that there's this. The magic can be well known. They also mentioned that, like, the Vinca are not dumb thugs. They
weren't. They were actually wiser than most people in the area were.
Yeah. And probably even up to today. Like, let's think about it. It's the Balkans. They probably are.
However, even in this time, this is the end of the golden age of mysteries.
As our dear president has said about the Serbians, they are little more than uneducated degenerates.
So the wise struggle to survive. So even the awakened find it difficult to keep things together.
Yep. And meanwhile, the werewolves are basically in their golden age.
Yeah.
But like it's ending. But it's starting.
It's starting to end.
Also, this also has another information. This is only a good time for some supernatural creatures. Hilariously, vampires will probably have a very hard time in this environment.
They have an insanely hard time. They're not very common.
This is before
vampires are rare.
We actually did this in Book of the Dead. This would be before the different species lineages kind of that.
Yes,
this is. But even like the most basic, like even if we just grind vampire down to its most basic traits, they work best in large civilizations, which none really exist yet.
Well, they're all in Mesopotamia right now, basically.
Yeah.
The ones that are around here, are basically like they live under the city. There might be one per very large community.
Oh, and this is also would be. I'm wondering how demons would exist here.
Like demons are wonky in this time. I'm betting.
I wonder if they even exist. They may not even exist.
Maybe
that's actually a good question too.
Maybe this is the genesis of the God Machine.
Who knows? That's the fucking thing about this.
Demon falls.
Who knows?
And I have to wonder, how can Prometheans swarm if they're mostly created?
They would be.
Had fucking time.
Well, no, there would be though because of extempore. And Olgans would probably be around too.
Extempore, Olgans, and just people that make people.
And maybe a couple of Osirans, yeah.
Osirans, probably some.
I don't think maybe a Galateans too.
Maybe a Galatea and probably a Golem. Like there's going to be a Tammuz. There has to be a Tammuz. Somebody's going to make a Mudman.
But most of the time, it'll probably either be Olgan because this is the spirit world's kind of golden age,
and also
they
also talk about the actual Vinca, which is that they possibly had writing. But we don't know anything about that.
At the very least, they probably had like personal sigils or something.
Yes, which is the first step to writing, really.
This means me.
Yeah,
this means
they
me.
Probably have that.
They had other markings too on other stuff, so possibly.
They probably didn't have writing, but they probably had at least symbols that indicated certain things, like glyphs.
Yep, and they also talk about
cave paintings. We got cave
the fact that they don't call themselves the Vinca. The Vinca is our word for them. They're just the people.
Yep, so they're known as the Vinca. They are not grunting thugs squatting in caves. They're farmers, crafters, priests, and traders. With a rich culture bound up in ritual practices. These motherfuckers were not just in the Balkans. You could find their wares further than the Balkans.
You could find them all the way around the entire area. Like they were out and up into the steppes because they had contact with steppes people that would eventually basically replace their culture as the Vinca suffered from probably a couple of really bad harvest years and bad flooding. And that basically killed their communities off.
To move on to the theme in the world. The theme is more or less the world is your oyster in the sense that who knows what the fuck is beyond.
Nobody fucking knows. Everything is out there.
And,
it's all
here you
alien.
Go. Vincan writing, so there would be at least something there. These designs are markings in high speech and first tongue, so that would be
they basically claim that this is the marking that would be the high speech from Mage, is what they're claiming it is in this. Just because, like, well, in reality, this is what it is, but hey, this is World of Darkness, that's what it is here.
And the intricate masks are ritual objects.
Yes.
And the mood of this whole thing, and the mood of the whole thing is that while people are people and things are still the same we always know, it's still not our time. War as we know it is history and lore have been passed orally this whole time.
Yeah, war as we know it isn't really a thing. I mean, there's still communities that will go
against each other. A tribe might move in and kill anyone in its wake, but that's not really war. That's just life.
Or they'll move in, they'll kill some people, and then they'll just take over where you were living.
It's like raiding and like invasions, and that's about it.
They'll squat. They move in and they squat.
Yeah. They'll squat over where they were. They'll kill half of your people, and then they'll move into their old houses while you're in the woods, and then they'll be like, "Hey, come back! Like, we don't know anything here."
By the way, among the Vinca, the wise don't need to hide their nature, but they can't show magic because the community can't comprehend it.
Yes,
it's the sleeping curse still is a thing.
The sleeping is still a thing. They can't really comprehend magic, and it will still create paradox. But they can know that you're a mage.
Acknowledge its existence, though.
Yes. You are the court wise man who does the magic, who does the strange things.
Your job is to protect them from the savage world. And speaking of savages, that's where the Uratha come in. They have a big, bad relationship with the men and women who walk as wolves. The wolf-blooded are born among them, and decisions have to be made whether to embrace them or send them away to the wilds of the marches. They are as much spirit as flesh.
Yep.
Capricious, fierce, and deadly.
Yeah. They also want to. I also want to make a point here that the Time Arcana is a little weird too. They mentioned that a lot of the shit here is different.
Because Father Wolf is not
dead yet. Also, they mentioned that there was the time before, the before time, which is basically Atlantis, by which they define as a place where the cows would never get sick, and that there was plenty. You could just sing food to life and things. It's very dream time, and I like it.
You're a little ahead. I'm just kind of like, there's the untamed world, basically, beyond your little village. I'm calling them mud huts.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about that.
Yep. Okay, so the time before, they've always been here since the river itself was born. They dwelled on the banks. Blah blah blah. Eldest women in the eldest community can only remember a time where people are already there. Slowly scarred, marked, and laid claim to the land by the weight of their continued presence. The borders of woods have crept back, pastures are trodden in by cattle, and now the ground is wounded where humans dig it for copper and colored minerals.
Shiny rocks have always
become old.
Yeah, shiny rocks have always been a fun thing for people. We love colored things.
Especially if they're hard to get.
Yep.
It makes life worth living.
The hills remember the traditional songs of the people so well that sometimes they echo back. This way of life is held steady for as long as they can remember, yet they know deep in their bones it was not always like this. In the time before, the elders say, things were different. Once life was easy. The world may be a paradise for predators now, but in the time before, it was a paradise for humanity. The world was in perfect balance. Man need not take an ard to break the earth and sow crop. He could simply sing the seeds to life and watch them bloom. Priestess could call to the gods who dwelt in their rightful and sacred place and bless the herds of cattle so livestock would never sicken and die. When humanity would demand it, the very mountains would bow in obeyance, and vast edifices would raise to the skies.
Sure, and as the young people of that day said, "Okay, boomer."
If the clouds darkened and, "Okay, grandpa."
Yeah, they then mentioned that the world shattered, basically, that what was once is no longer, which is the fall from Atlantis, basically, from Mage.
But they don't understand it as Atlantis. They just know it as there was basically the paradise myth that a lot of paradise
Whoever
myths
Percent.
are
won the
very
meeting.
popular.
Paradise myths are popular worldwide, and this is basically
More or less,
The
we used to
explanation
have
for
things
what
so good
Atlantis
before
is.
someone fucked it up. We used to have it real good before someone fucked it up.
Isn't that right, Gary?
For the Greeks, it would be Pandora opening the box.
Well, it was actually a jar.
Goddamn woman. Goddamn woman.
It was a jar.
For the
she
Semitic
was evil
peoples,
because
for the Semitic peoples, it was Adam choosing knowledge over life.
yeah. I'm sorry. Can I make a slight tangent on Pandora?
Mm-hmm.
Because I love this bit when you read the Greek, where the actual description of why Pandora is evil is because she can actually think, and therefore she's evil because she isn't just a sexy. Yeah, she's a woman that isn't just a bimbo. So he's thus to the writer, she's pure evil.
She's a thought.
She's pure evil because she has things like a brain and intelligence
and curiosity and want to learn,
and not just listening to the man all the time. Therefore, she's evil. So
for the wise who try to use time to observe the time before, they find their efforts frustrated. In most places, the time before no longer seems to exist at all. It's simply gone, replaced with the ancient and slow ascent of people from their earlier.
Miam go too far. As they mentioned, Miam go too far. Miam play gods. It's very much a theme of this is actually Miam play gods. If we go through here, because we should just read it.
I will say one thing. In reference to the thing about the elders probably 40 at best.
Like 45, yeah.
No, they're probably in their 50s.
Oh yeah, they have math. But remember, people died a lot younger. People died a lot younger back then.
True, but
they did.
Settled peoples usually at least managed to make it into their mid-50s.
50s to 70s was usually the except when you die. So the elders would be in their 50s, basically.
So basically what happened is we play God and world reject us.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned this like a few months ago. You mentioned that there are like shattered remnants of the time before that still kind of haunt the world.
Yes, there are. The fragments of Atlantis are still much more visible at this time than they were ever before.
The wise look upon the shards of shattered time and the evanescing mad remnants of that era. Know that
so
the time before
you could
is now
walk
but
into
a fading echo, never real.
And basically, you could have a. They sort of mentioned too that the time can be a little bit flexible in these areas. So you could have a Grug Mage walk into New York City for like 5 minutes and then be like, "What the fuck is happening?
Did I find the time before?
Did I what's going on?" Like there's stuff like that. They also mentioned that again, the biggest threat to everyone is hunger.
Yep, life
spirits of starvation are the worst.
Raise your voice with your sisters and sing bravely in the cold night. Don't let the flames go out. Do not walk alone.
Or you will die.
Keep the edge of your axe keen. Say your respects to the tree as you seek out timber. And always look carefully before you split their bark. Never cut a tree that bears a face or you will die.
Bury the amulets below your home. Always place a sacred pot by your hearth. Always have the statue there. Remember to ward your threshold, or you're fucking gonna die.
Tend carefully to your fields and the cattle above all. When you are blessed with plenty, feed your neighbors. When your cows and crops are stricken with sickness, beseech the bull and bird for aid, or your food will wither and you will die. Spirits of hunger. Hunger is literally the great enemy in this setting.
Yes, this is the thing.
You're living at the precipice. These settled people at the time are living at precipice.
The brood of the gnawed bone plagues the people. Acquire famine, gluttony, malnutrition, and starvation. They seek to ruin crops and kill cattle, to drive those who have plenty to gorge themselves upon and lay nothing for the winter. Those who find themselves lost in the wilds at night must be wary. For those who fall asleep hungry sometimes wake with their souls in their grasp. Those unfortunates return to their village as mad-eyed, ravenous ghouls. You basically become fucking Wendigos.
Yeah, it's Balkan Wendigo. So all I can think about is a Wendigo with an accordion and a beret, talking about the Serbian artillery being guided by God.
Few such
all you have to do
try to hide their new natures.
All you have to do is remember that the dead-faced man from that meme that would get us thrown off the internet.
Demonetized, yeah.
Yeah, we get us demonetized. Just imagine his face.
The Nod Bone chair the Nod Bone choir absolutely hates the wise who deny them the feast of the essence that the people should provide them.
Yeah, this is a big thing about mages in this time is they basically mentioned that like you are sort of the intermediary between the spirit world and humanity in this time period. Not werewolves, it's you. Because werewolves
are
really
one of the problems.
Are just yes.
Papa Wolf ain't dead yet.
They also go into a pretty good description of what
they are not the Forsaken. The werewolves are not the Forsaken.
Yeah, they're not yet.
Yeah,
but they go into like
Fartha's not dead.
Yeah, they go into a good description about like the actual village. I'd say actually get this to read that one because otherwise we'll be here forever.
Village is very in size, few dozen. Basically, they have small communes. They're usually as close to water sources as they can be because in olden times, and the reason why the oldest cities are usually right near a body of water, this is why.
Yeah, they also go into like how the society is set up, which is basically that like there's not a lot of crime and there's not a lot of violence because there's no fucking time to do that.
There's not enough time because basically you're needed on the farms because you're the one bad harvest can lead to the whole village dying.
So, and if you did accidentally kill somebody, instead of you dying too, you have to pay them with your cattle, which might kill you.
Also, this is the era where the only possibility of there being a lazy, quote unquote, a layabout is the hunter who got his arm cut off fighting for the boar, and the village is too awkward to exile him since he helped them in so many lean winters.
Yeah.
Basically, the only layabouts are those who have done service enough to not be
or they're old enough or they're old enough to have the wisdom to know where people will come and talk to them, basically. The other thing to remember,
mud, usually straw.
Yeah,
sometimes stone.
I'm on like page 39 because I think that we should probably try to move through this because this is a lot of very detailed stuff about how Neolithic life would work.
Basically, there's traders, there's potters, traders, craftsmen,
hunters, farmers,
and farmers. There's no chief. There are chiefs, but like they're
not
rare.
Really. Like the way to describe it, a lot of these Neolithic societies is that there is a guy in charge, but who's in charge can vary from week to week.
First among equals.
It's often a first among equals because usually the people in charge, like you're related to a lot of the people around you.
Yep. And it's usually the oldest guy. It could be anything. It could be the oldest. It could be the grandpa of the family.
It could be grandpa, grandma. It could be like,
or it could be like the chief potter if you're like dealing with another trade, or it could be the chief hunter if like there's a monster on the loose, or it could be the chief farmer if there's a crop problem,
or it could just be the chief farmer normally, and then there's a war leader if there's ever incidents with somebody else.
Per community.
Yeah, like this could vary from like a 5-mile radius where
like
you could have
I'm kind of holding the brakes on this because I do think it's interesting enough to explain a little bit.
Yeah,
because it shows that they put detail and effort here.
Yeah, but I don't want to get bogged down into going into like 3 hours about like Neolithic history and the evolution of societies because you could with this. It's a very interesting time period, and it's arguable right now that what's happening with like the Neolithic society stuff is what's going on in killer whales, which is fucking insane when you think about it.
Especially since they're not really, they can't really tool to use.
They can't, but they're smart enough to teach and like have their own languages. Same with monkeys
too.
Same with a lot of monkeys. It's really strange.
So there's also supernatural beings. Basically, the wise are the entire cast is defined by the power, but other beings also dwell among them. There are those that don't suffer the sleeping curse. They're partially awake. That's
sleepwalkers, basically, from normal mage.
Wolf-blooded, basically, those are the ones that will eventually become
fucked a werewolf. They either fucked a werewolf or they saw a werewolf and it shook them, basically, to the point where it actually spiritually infected them. Wolf-blooded are cool. They're quite interesting. I'm glad that Forsaken really put the emphasis on how useful they are to werewolves compared to the kinfolk. Kinfolk were awful. They were shitty. Why would you ever want to have kinfolk around, really, in a party? And Wolf-blooded in Forsaken are actually quite useful. because they can do things that normal werewolves can't do, because normal werewolves would chimp the fuck out and just go rip murder tear. I really like New Werewolf.
And then there's the claimed. They stagger into a village after weeks away, fingers warped into talons and claws, moss smeared with goblets of their brother's blood. This
is people that got taken over by spirits.
Yeah, they're
basically
possessed.
Yeah. So they mentioned that, like, so these people, like, there's mixed responses. Some villages just fucking kill them, obviously.
Sometimes they become their spiritual chief.
Yes, sometimes they become the local shaman, because obviously they're spirit touched. So depending on the spirit that did possess them, it could be okay. If it was a spirit of vengeance, maybe, and you're in the middle of a conflict, that'd be great.
Sometimes villages will send those who've angered spirit on purpose to be possessed, and that's considered the worst punishment.
That's considered an awful punishment, but it's also considered a way to make the spirit not murder everybody by corrupting the crops.
It's basically like even nastier than exile.
It's like human sacrifice, basically. Like you're offing this dude to appease the gods. There's no other way around it.
And the people often will worship many beings in order to survive. Basically, the spirits are venerated to prevent them from attacking them.
Yeah.
And there's greater spirits. They try, but they don't try as hard, because if they get their attention, that's really fucking bad.
It's like dealing with elder gods, basically. Because remember, this isn't like a concept in World of Darkness. This isn't like, oh, hey, big Sky Daddy Zeus here. This is, oh yeah, I saw Father Wolf, and he fucking murdered a village. Like, I saw him eat a village. Yeah, we're not fucking with that.
We will leave a yak covered in blood as the monthly sacrifice.
As the gift to the wolf spirits. Like,
or,
here you go, please don't.
I went out hunting and I saw a person cut down a tree, and a wood spirit dragged him into the tree and spat him out as chunks of blood like he did to Timber. So
yeah. Yeah.
Or something more comedic.
So from now on, we cannot use this species of tree because it is sacred.
We
to
can't
that spirit.
cut these trees. Yeah, we can't cut those.
I saw man try to get apple from tree, but then branch broke out from under him. He fall and impale himself on rock. God's not
that could also be a one where it's just a bad accident and it's not even a spirit. They might just
like that's the other thing, but you don't know. Unless you bring in one of the wise, you don't know if you're a villager. So
you see maybe you see, I don't know, Geg the Hunter come back. He's babbling, but he has like blood all over his head. He could be spirit possessed, or he could have gotten hit in the head.
You don't know, and that's kind of the fun of this, because it's like it definitely gets the feel of like you're a cave guy with a stick and a fire, and you're poking the fire.
Like you know how to hit metal until it formed pretty shape.
Speaking of that industry, we should go over the role fire plays in this, because it's actually pretty important.
Yeah, fire is incredibly important.
Yep.
Basically, it is essentially
there's
magic.
Also the
it
necropolis.
Is magic, everything. Yeah.
And
the necropolis,
weapons and armor.
The necropolis is important because this is the other thing that we know a lot about. Why we know as much about the Vinca as that we do is because they dug very elaborate graveyards. They had very elaborate burial ceremonies. This was not uncommon among Neolithic groups either. Usually you'd often see them buried in like a fetal position too, which is actually quite interesting when you consider the implications of that. But yeah, like they also mentioned that they do this so that they don't come back.
Yeah.
They give them the gifts so that hopefully.
Also, if you think about it, this could be the first, because we did Book of the Dead. These could be like the first ghouls.
Yeah.
Not the ghouls that the actual Arabian ghouls.
Yeah. Like this could be some of the sources of that. Now there's other mentions here once we get into like industry and artifice, which I quite love, because it's basically like
everyone has a weapon at some sort.
Yeah.
Usually stone, bone.
Stone, bone, or wood. One of the three.
Javelins occasionally
Maybe
are
all
used.
Three. Maybe all three.
They use ranged weapons, bow. They don't really have armor, to be honest. They usually do speed. But as Greg mentioned, fire. This one's the big one.
Yeah, fire is the most important thing. If you do not have fire, you fucking die.
Humanity
just
broke
no
free
other
of
way.
the tyranny of darkness long ago, seizing the spark of fire and wielding it against the gloom and shadow. Fire separates man from animal, most clearly in the refinements of the people. Fire is vital for survival. It fends off lethal cold, cooks food so it's safe to eat. So basically, Grug no get food poisoning because put pig part on fire.
Also, could you imagine trying to walk through the woods at night with no source of light?
Yeah.
Scares away animals. They can be lit. They always keep the flame stoked somewhere. When they travel and go further afield, they take clay pots where glowing embers can seethe and smolder.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting fact about that. We've got evidence of these pots that they'd keep other fires in to move them around.
Yep, wild animals fear fire, so it actually gives you defense against wild animals. So basically, not wombat, but like some badger attack happens.
Yeah,
you get
like you're getting attacked by a fucking like drop bear thing from the spirit world. You've got a fire. That thing is like, fuck. I don't want to go near you.
That might save your life.
Yeah.
If you're gonna fight, if you in a fight against a wild animal, it's better to have fire than a spear.
It is like they don't show the damage for it, but fire always does aggravated damage. So
it does lethal always.
Always lethal or aggravated depending on who's
aggravated. Depending on if it's a supernatural being, it will often do aggravated to it. Fire is
and that's also
useful.
really important because if you have to deal with the supernatural, fire is the only guarantee that it's going to do something.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is. If you're going hunting, if you don't want to become a ghost, it might be the only thing that saves you.
Yep. Now they go into this is like a few other things they talk about was like the ritual pottery. I love that
very elaborate, like their breath urns, which are marked with words.
Yeah, they've got a lot of interesting things.
Talismans, like amulets, pots, statues.
And the thing is, we found these things in other areas of the Balkans and in Anatolia because people would trade these. They'd buy them and they'd sell them elsewhere.
And last but not least, the yantra, which are ceramics used for rituals.
This is the yantras are basically just as a mage term. It's how you make a spell easier. So that's basically what this is. It's a ceramic pot that's being used or shard to help power a spell, and you have to break the ceramic to do it.
There's islands of civilization. The horizon's very close. Basically, your village is kind of your self-contained area.
And they're scattered around.
Yeah, beyond that, like, there's horrible things out there.
Yeah. And they mentioned that, there's people, there's a sea. Then there's, of course, the wizards are like...
You know a village 3 days over that way.
Yeah, and they know a village that's like 3 days over that way. So you know that there's a lot more people out there, but you've never met them.
Or you've rarely met them.
Yeah.
Or God forbid you live in an isolated part. For all you know, you're the only humans out there.
Well, you probably if you're that isolated, you're probably going to die.
You're screwed. Yeah.
You're fucked. They go into survival where they talk about how
starvation is the greatest threat. It's not monsters. Yeah. It's just dying
it's dying of hunger. This is the biggest threat to humanity through most of our time. Yeah, the Vinca basically probably died out because of climactic changes and possibly a change in the course of the river.
Based on what they did was I think they studied the riverbed flow and
it changed.
That's not good.
That's not good for them because they need the river to help them with crop yields, basically.
This is kind of your if you love Dark Sun, this is this little element here where it talks about how you could survive this number of days without water equal to their stamina.
Yeah. They also talk about weather, and they basically say that weather tilts in Modern World of Darkness are kind of I mean, it's there. And this could kill you in this era. This will kill you.
It's pretty much the only era where it will hardcore kill you unless it's like a serious storm or something.
Yeah, they also talk about
Disease.
disease, which it's limited, of course, but some illnesses, no, you just can't. The only hope you have are either spirits or magic, and that's it. Or you just die.
You need to breathe good. You say it's hard to breathe. You need
We're punching a hole in your chest.
No. You need to be hung from your feet upside down and then beat on the
bad
back.
air will leave that way.
Well, no. You have bad air in lungs. Must hung upside down and then grind mint leaves and stew them in pot below you.
Yeah.
Because good smell will get out air, and you'll breathe bad smell out of nose.
You see, the bad smell. The bad smell pools in your stomach, so we have to let it fall out of your mouth.
All right,
and we got to replace it with good smell from the mint leaves.
And then they go into animals here, and I love that they mention, of course, bears. Obviously, bears are
boars, wolves.
Boars are the one that people forget about because boars are fucking terrifying when you have is a pointy stick without any metal.
There's a reason why they
killed
survive.
King Robert. They killed King Robert.
They killed like how many noblemen over history? Like they will fuck people up. It's insane.
That's nothing. They can also survive getting shot with a 50 caliber bullet.
Yeah, for a while. I mean,
they're tough.
They're tough.
Wolves,
they're pretty
obviously,
tough.
But my favorite are cows. Cows.
Okay, if you've never heard of these things, so
these are the source of your cows.
These are where cows came from, basically. Or more accurately, these are the cousins of modern cows. Because modern cows were like a subspecies of these that we then domesticated because they just were slightly less aggressive than these monsters. We've been trying to breed these guys back into existence, and we've been semi-successful at that because they were like, Jesus Christ, we're talking maybe 12 feet long.
They're probably closer. They're probably closer to what the Minotaur was originally thought of.
Yeah, like the reason why there were a lot of bull cults around is because of these motherfuckers. These were like,
in fact, actually, besides rhinoceroses, aurochs are sometimes thought to be the Leviathan in biblical myth.
Yeah, they were scary to everybody around them because, like, you know how
not the
Leviathan, which is why we wiped them out.
The behemoth, the Leviathan was crocodile. Behemoth was the auroch.
Yeah, because when you look at these motherfuckers, right? Like
they're big, they look like cows, but they're untamable monsters that will rip shit through your fucking path.
It's like a zebra.
It's
like a zebra, but instead of being smaller than a modern horse, it's bigger.
Also, basically. Their horns are made for combat.
Their horns are spiked and reinforced.
They're specifically they point towards forward so they can impale you.
Yeah. They're not for interspecies conflict. They're for killing predators, and they're incredibly aggressive about it. If
you die against an auroch, your party members, the other party members should just kind of say praise to the bull.
Praise the bull. Praise the bull.
Because they died. It has to placate the bull.
Because they're so hard to fucking get away from you. Because look at them. They've got 13 health boxes. Yeah. And the best you have.
A spear does too.
Their defense ain't bad either. And look at their strength of 6.
And the problem with the spear,
stamina
right?
6. Look at stamina 6.
Yeah. Oh god. Don't forget it also has a thick hide, I think.
To give you an idea, only bears are more dangerous than an auroch.
No, bears are less dangerous.
Yeah, and because they have the same health and they're even stronger than an auroch.
Yeah, but don't forget aurochs travel in herds.
Yeah, there's more than one of these motherfuckers.
And they get Brawl 3, Intimidation 3. They have Iron Stamina, Hardy.
Iron Stamina and Hardy, which is just like, oh no.
And remember the weapons you're armed with. Let's go back up there so you can... Axe.
Don't forget, every weapon gives you minus initiative.
Yeah, they do. That's how New World works. If you have a weapon, your initiative starts to go down, depending on how big the weapon is, because it's clumsier to get on target.
You're fucked. We're just gonna... And look, your armor is just rating 1. You're fucked.
You're fucked. Like, there's... Yeah, you're fucked.
And these are just animals.
Yeah, and the fun thing is that aurochs are around in Europe until about the 1500s. There were still a few around. And they were still considered incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
When we had crossbows and metal armor, we were still like, don't fuck with them.
And as for Spirits in the Shadow, it's a patchwork. Basically, Spirit Realm has heavily bled into the material realm.
Yeah.
And the border marches, basically around the Balkans, once you get beyond the border marches, you're going into Spook World. You're screwed.
It's Spook World everywhere is sort of the thing. Like there's pockets where there's enough people that it sort of lowers the amount of spirits that come through, but otherwise it's like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck.
No one is willing to be the brave explorer opening up the new world.
Well, there are a few, but
they don't come back usually.
In general, you generally don't want to run into the grove of shrieking trees made out of human flesh, you know?
Also, it's not like, a harmonious balance. Spirits are not supposed to dwell in the world. They suffer unless they anchor themselves. And wolves, they're saying it's fallen as they are. This is just when they're starting to fall.
Yeah. Yeah. And then here's where we get to the scars of the time before, which is the strange Atlantean time out of time artifacts and pieces of chronology from the future that may have come back.
Bizarre structures claw at the sky in distant reaches of the wild, great towers with impossible geometries or ghastly aspects. So in this time period, you can accidentally walk into Relia.
Not only that, but you can accidentally walk into a place and then leave before you even ever arrived.
Yep, in places, rolling hills and forests give way to wastelands of rock that look like melted wax and are home to screaming ghosts.
Yeah.
Because these are echoes of what happened before.
Or what will come to be.
Yeah. It's also notable that like a lot of these wonders of the Neolithic end up kind of going away by the time that the next era rolls around, because it's the dissonance of these things being in reality ends.
So there's a huge time jump between 5000 BC and Alexander.
Yep.
Well, a mixture of basically as the time stretches onward from that fall, combined with humanity finally breaking that whole lock.
Yeah.
Because nature had a lock after the fall for a while.
Well, it's also the fact that the gauntlet came down.
Yeah.
The thing is that the people flourish for a while, and the Vinca get migrated in. The fact is that the Yamanaya culture comes in, and the Yamanaya culture appeals to a lot of people because the Yamanaya culture says, hey bro, have like 3 wives and a horse and you are the best dude ever. Bro, we throw the best parties. And that's kind of how the horse culture got spread. I'm not lying.
Nomads.
Less than you'd think. It was more that they came in and they're like, hey, do you want to party? And people loved their parties so much they decided to party like they did and take all their stuff too. And like, well, not all their stuff, but like a lot of the ways that they did things and their language and all that, because it was just such a fucking amazing thing to have these massive herds of animals.
And they even explain the phenomena described here.
Yeah.
There's also shattered time. The greatest of the scars of the time before can be found in the immense crystalline structures that pierce the world's flesh. They ram through into the border marches and even into the spirit world like nails.
Yep. They're
time fragments.
Yep.
Under the most extreme, a traveler may leave such a region before they arrive, all at different stages in life.
Yeah,
they could actually go from realities that no longer exist. You could actually go into realities that could not be. Like, you could go to an alternate time where the Vinca survived and thrived.
Yeah, there's a lot of this shit.
And what they'll do, and like, people are crazy enough to do it just to save things like lost lovers, children, because what they'll do is they'll try to break time by doing it.
Yeah.
This is the element of we play God and it goes bad.
No, that's not the element of we play God and it goes bad. That's gonna come up in a little bit.
Oh, what is it?
That's just the start of it. So they go into the how you create a character in this timeline, where basically they mention out that there's no rotes because there's no society. So there's no orders, you've just got your paths, but they of course call them something completely different because a lot of the modern names just don't exist yet.
Well, actually, there's also the shattered time. Basically, it describes the environment and then what's yet to come. The world as people know will come to an end as humanity inevitably, determinately claws its way forward towards a mastery of the world. First, though, reality's in for another great wound, one that's to rival, basically, Atlantis' destruction.
Which is the Sundering, which is the death of Father Wolf.
When Urfara falls, the interwoven worlds are torn apart. In that moment of devastation, spirits are wrenched out of the world of flesh in a vortex of screams, hurled back into their own realm. Formerly claimed hosts drop dead, writhing in vile mutation or fall into madness. The border marches simply vanish, sealed away in frozen time as the gauntlet slams down. So if you're in that area, you're fucked.
Yeah.
The werewolves roar with sorrow and hatred, and the entire balance of the world is reworked as the great predator's dying howl forms a new harmony between spirit and flesh.
The people survive this, of course, but they change a bit. They get better, and then that's when the Ammonite culture comes in and basically just sort of outcompetes them. Because compared to what the settled people were doing, a semi-nomadic herder is a much more appealing lifestyle because I get sick parties and I get a bunch of horses, and horses are cool.
And if things aren't great in this area, well, fuck it, just move.
Okay, we'll move. Eventually, they'll settle down to the Ammonite culture, but the things that they leave behind are their mythology, their language. Basically, like the reason why Zeus and a lot of other thunder gods are so similar is because of these motherfuckers.
They kind of come in. Beginners of the Indo-European people.
Yes, the Ammonite culture, as
and this
we know
is where the slaughter of the Great Serpent happens too.
Yes.
So the Neolithic Chronicles of Darkness contain vast and bizarre phenomena as a result of the time before. Yet by later eras, these basically have mostly gone, aside from a strange few mysteries and ruins. Yep, basically, this since it's so early, the dissonance. I know you've already covered that.
Okay, this may be because I'm drinking, but now I'm thinking a dark age is set on the Mongolian steppe.
The wonders of the Neolithic are slowly but surely eroded over the centuries by dissonance as sleepers encounter. They're so vast and basically the sleepers just they look at it and scream so badly they stop existing.
Basically, because this is something that should not be. It's like going into the fucking sunken city, and one person seeing that in mage cosmology, that's not going to do much. It's still going to be there, but when you get thousands upon thousands of people looking at this shit, like that shouldn't exist. It's going to start to damage it. And also just the fact that the time and the shift in the world and all these other things also just wear them away. There's just fragments of these things left now in like modern eras, and that's probably for the best considering what these things did. It's like, oh shit, that could be much worse. It's like the mystery flesh pit style of thing.
Yep, and basically the time arcanum becomes a thing because, well, Papa Wolf dying and forcing reality to be more fucking sane.
It was already a thing. Like, here's what we go through here. It's more that
the spirits aren't actively fucking with the
fucking
world.
With people because the gauntlet exists. So let's go into the character creation stuff, because again, it's quite interesting to go through the paths, because what they view is actually quite different, and how things are different in what the awakening
Acanthus
is like.
Is path of sky, Mastigos is path of forest, Moros is the path of sea, Obramos is path of storm, and Thrias is path of blood.
Yeah, so basically something to note is Acanthus in the modern era, their awakening and their thing is that there's like, it's like Arcadia, like an actual Arcadia. It looks really cool and really well grown, and it looks nice. It's not this sky battered place with a stone brazier and all that. Mestigos is no longer a forest in the modern era. It's a fucking underground tomb of horrors with a bunch of screaming soul demons. So that's fun. The Moros in this era is basically what you're looking at is the underworld, the bottom of the underworld. What will happen eventually is that the sunken tablet at the bottom of that will eventually rise up to become their tower. Obramos is sort of in a similar situation, and Thresis also, like, basically where they go to awaken eventually rises to be the tower as more and more mages contribute to it.
There's no orders, obviously.
Yep. Also, Neolithic awakenings are kind of, well, they're a lot more common. compared to what they were now. Basically, it's like there's a fixed number of mages allowed ever, is sort of what some people theorize. But they also have a really high rate of attrition when they awaken, because imagine, if you will, that you're tripping fucking balls in the middle of a forest full of spirits that want to kill you. That's a mage awakening in this era.
Yep.
You don't know reality from what isn't real, and things that aren't supposed to be real are trying to kill you.
Also note that starting characters don't begin with occult or high speech.
Yep. That's stuff that comes later.
They
have
dedicated magical tools, but they're very different from what they are.
Yep.
No rotes, although they can earn praxis.
Correct. They don't have grimoires either.
Resistance attribute. The divine ember of enlightenment burns those who would seize it with far fiercer flame than the awakenings of later on, and it only leaves the hardiest sane and alive. So technically, the reason why it was more common was because, well, actually, it wasn't more common. It's just there's less people, and the weirdness is still there, so they're more open, I'm thinking, and that's why.
Yeah.
In this case, the attrition's also higher because not only are you tripping balls while the trees with faces are killing you, the awakening, you're tripping harder because you're also in the time wounds before reality kind of heals a bit.
Yeah, you're right. You would be stepping into those by accident or going towards those.
Even in accident either. Like, you don't even have to move there. It's just since reality is blended, like flesh and spirit are one in this setting, you're closer to that awakening fire, and it hurts more. So you could literally die on as you awaken.
Also, I wanna note something from a few pages ago. They mentioned something called the Soul Stones of Gods.
Yeah.
This is where I get into the EM go too far.
Yeah.
They're gonna cover that in a second here.
So, basically, you get resistance on awakenings because it's only the hardiest survive. So you could drop dead from a heart attack from
during an awakening. Yeah, because your body just can't take it. It gets stranger too. They go into
here are
like
some merits you can't get: Adamant Hand, Concilium Status, Infamous Mentor, Lex Magica, Mask, Mystery Cult Influence, Mystery Initiate. You can't get any of these.
Yeah.
And these are the paths that you get. They
describe path of sky, path of forest, path of sea, path of storm.
Basically explaining how the areas are very different from what you're used to.
Yeah. They mention how they're changing over time too. They then go into the practice of magic, which is basically like, well, it's pretty similar. You just don't have rotes, you don't have grimoires. The Spirit Arcanum is a little bit weirder because you can't look through the gauntlet anymore.
Yep, there's no watchtowers, obviously.
Yeah, well, instead you can just, rather than using gauntlet strength, you just use the depth of the border marches. Like, how deep does it go into the other side? You can't also you can't open basically like instead of a 1-to-1 portal, you have to open 2 portals now.
Here's another cool one. They can't like transmit easily. They have to pass down the traditions orally, just like everyone else.
Yep.
But apparently the supernal realm, they describe how the supernal realm's changing. The Stone of Blood used to be no taller than a man, but now it fills a cavern.
Yep, as I mentioned before, the watchtowers are rising.
It talks about the Spirit Arcanum and the border marches.
Yep, they also talk about the spirit world, to a degree.
Very different phenomenon from the Gauntlet. In this era, that strange in-between realm divides the spirit realm and the material realm, called the border marches by the wise and Pangaea by the Uratha. They cannot be used to look directly across the Gauntlet from the material world to the spirit world, because there's no Gauntlet.
Yep.
Rather than using Gauntlet strength or any spells that allow the character to interact with the other world, use depth of the border marches instead.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So then they go in again into the differences, and they also mention that the underworld is very different in this era.
Yep. No rotes, no grimoires, sources of mana, spirit world.
Yeah, they mentioned, of course, it's the standard spirit world that you get from Mage and Werewolf.
It is a lunatic place, a warped reflection of the material world. Yep.
Yep, basically, and not much is different. Same old, same old.
Fire, forest, and river spirits.
Mind you, though, there's actually they mentioned though that there's a lot more half spirit people because like the spirits sometimes will take human forms and fuck people. It happens, you know.
So here are some interesting ones. Fire spirits are friendly to both the wise and the peoples.
Yep.
Forest spirits hate humanity, and river
Not a surprise.
spirits
Want to bang us.
There's also river spirits. They used to hate people, but now they like
Now
them.
they want to bang us. They want to fuck us. They're like, hey, they give us stuff like let's put on the fucking 70s porno music and let's get busy. The next bit with the underworld is actually quite interesting because it's
the ocean beyond life. It's a drowning place of black water. Ragged communities of dead cling to existence on islands in the silent depths.
They'll build up eventually. So like the cities that will be the underworld in later eras don't exist at this point because there's just not been enough dead people yet. Basically.
Overhead, what might be stars or crystals in a cavern's roof glint and twinkle. Hence to drown in the Black Sea and sink until they pass to the true afterlife. It's an intermediary place, purgatory where the soul must pass. So basically, there's enough dead people to build those tiny, pathetic islands.
Yeah, but there's not enough yet to build the massive cities and layers of the underworld that there will be later on.
The Waterwise once knew it as an unbroken ocean, once just water into the distance with no land. So also the ocean beyond life is starting to drain.
Yeah, it's wonky. Basically, everything's wonky. The astral realm is also sort of weird too because there's not a lot of things there right now.
Yep, a lot of the concepts of the gods. It's the spine of the wise community. It's just there's nothing.
There's not a lot because there's not a lot of concepts around compared to when there is now. Like now you can run into like the dream ideas of like Adolf Hitler or whatever, but like there's not that
like
yet.
To give you an idea, the astral realm in modern Mage, it is perfectly reasonable to run into fucking Sonichu.
Yeah, you could run into Sonichu, and Sonichu is having a debate with like
Sonichu is having a debate with Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, with Ren and Stimpy over the nature of reality, and you can sit in on that and like contribute.
And then you got like fucking Hunter S. Thompson's parody character, taking notes and shit talking as like the debater.
Yeah. Now
that's how crazy it gets.
Now beyond that, there's where the gods once were, which is where the Follow Stone.
Yep.
Now this is where we get into the play gods.
It's basically the Burden Bowl came down and gave them the greatest of gifts, part of their hearts, a portion of their souls.
Yep. So with these, we could actually like go into the dream realm, which is really great because this means that you can go from community to community easy. Like it's
but
these dimensions are much more potent than those created with the Mage's Soulstone. They're not subject to dissonance, so they don't fall apart when sleepers look at them.
Yeah.
Spells
they also expend where you can
are exceptional successes on 3 rather than 5.
And I'll pull the other one. What's the catch?
Well, the catch is that the wise are lying to the people about where they got these.
Yet not all the Omphalos stones were gifted by the 2 great deities. The people spread and prospered, and their new settlements were adrift from this network of god hearts. Wise possessed the power to speak distant minds or command birds to carry a message. Villagers became isolated from the sacred traditions of the people. The wise went into the dream realms and the border marchers seeking out other gods. They entreated and supplicated the divinities, and through the plight of the people won the gods' patronage. The wise returned bearing new fragments of divinity, new stones for the far-flung villages that joined them to the community. Or at least that's
a
what
fucking
they tell
lie.
The people.
It's a fucking lie.
The wise did intend to entreat and plead with the gods for their aid at first, yet every time they found one, they were ignored or rebuked or turned aside. And they realized many of these divinities didn't care for the people. When they found Foxwise in Vermilion and begged her thus, she refused too. And finally the wise grew angry beyond reason. They did the unthinkable and sought to bind Fox and take her heart from her by force.
And they fucking did it.
The struggle ruined a swath of the border marches. But the wise were victorious. They killed Fox and stole her soul, wrenching the heart from her carcass.
Yeah, so you want to know why the werewolves are really fucking pissed about the people?
That's what got them to pay attention.
This is what's happening. Yeah, this is why.
I wonder why Atlantis fell.
Wait,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is the wise? That's how Papa Wolf died. They went for his heart and failed.
No, they didn't get the chance to. They would have liked to, but right now the problem is that like there's only so many of these spirit stones to go around, right?
Yeah.
And all of the other spirits look at these fucking heart fragments and are like,
Why still hunt gods? The circles maintain the lie the unfollow stones are freely given, even though dozen lesser gods of the border marches now lie as carcasses.
Yeah, so you wonder why Father Wolf is so fucking mad?
That's why he's going crazy.
Yeah, that's why he's weakening too.
Because he's losing his prey.
Yeah.
Because these lesser gods are his fucking prey.
Yeah.
I just realized something. Does that mean if you played a werewolf game in this, you'd essentially be the beastman that you must return man to Ugg?
Yes.
Yes, that's your actual duty.
That's the next half of this bit of this book.
Is kill civilization in the cradle. Kill civilization in the cradle. Make man return to Ugg.
Yes, that's the next page after the next one.
Yep,
they go into
profane
the
murder
circles.
has made the gods withdraw much of their favor from the people. Bull, bird, and snake are rarely ever seen now, while wolf long has since ceased to concern itself with humanity. The three circles once sought to trap the great predator and take its heart, but they never even reached the god. Its pack of ravening ancient children tore them apart.
So they go into the fact that like the largest group of the people, the wise, is a circle. There's a few legacies. There's some sleepers that will participate in ceremonies about that. So page 56 is where it starts to get kind of fun. So they go and talk about the other monsters that are around at this time.
Chronicles of Darkness. Strange things dwell in the wilderness, and stranger things and spirits crawl towards the people's villages, seeking shelter or victims. Those who stray from the firelight at night risk being taken, possessed, or hunted by them. In a world where anything could house a spirit, the people have learned to be wary of anything resembling a human form, especially the dead. People bury their dead with great ceremony and protective amulets, hoping to fend off the possibility that an unfriendly entity might take them. Villages have been destroyed in the past, survivors telling tale of improperly buried dead haunting their former family and friends for their blood. Some dead return so quickly there's no chance to perform the rites. They die with unfinished business, or desperate need to return to the land of the living, and make bargain with the never-born beings that swim in the ocean
beyond life.
Bound by their desperate promises, these beings return to their own bodies with power over ghosts, but spew and sweat brackish, salty water that the wise
there's no plasm
to somehow be both the sea and human tears.
Yeah, that's the Sin Eaters. I love the Sin Eaters in this. They're literally eldritch abominations.
Not even artificial bodies are safe. The wise tell tales of potters consumed by the secrets of clay and fire, inspired in their madness to create human forms with their art. In the tale, these figures then awaken as wretched half-alive beings, neither spirit nor man, and poison the land around them with their very presence. These were pre-Frankenstein.
Yes.
This was the lineage of fire.
This was the original lineage of fire with the Tammuz. Yeah.
In this time zone, wouldn't actually killing comedians be kind of like more useful because since they literally ruined the land.
Yeah, it's critical. You can't let these things live. They literally will kill everything.
The concept of humanity is probably not even a thing with them at this time.
Other monsters prey on the people directly. Every village knows to keep the hearths burning in their homes at night in order to warn off the shadow owls.
Hi, vampires.
Hey, Strix.
And
or Nos.
No, these are the Strix.
That's the Strix, because they'll slip in and steal the life breath of the sick that are dying. And they also warn their children against accepting the gifts of strangers in case they are stolen away into a labyrinth of thorns. Some think that beings that seem human except for the sight of the Skywise creep into villages intent on replacing members of that community, pleading that they are truly their brothers, sisters, changelings, or cousins. They say that they were taken away and changed, and the person living with the people is an imposter left in their place.
Also, humans at first glance, monsters born of nightmares but housed in human skins, feed from the fears of their victims. Oh, hey, it's the beasts.
It's beasts. They had to reference beasts in everyone. This is actually the best one for that because I'm like, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they make the most sense in this time because this is the time of primordial fear.
Yes, this is literally when beasts are actually useful to have around. This is the only time. when they'll tell you things like, don't go into the woods or you're gonna fucking die, you dumbass. And then scare you half to death to keep you from doing it.
And finally, some beings may be related to the Pangaeans themselves. Shapeshifters resembling wolf's children, but with the forms of different animal. Those are the changing breeds.
Yeah, fusions of spirit and flesh that are not claimed spawn from the spilled blood of wolf's enemies. Far across the sea to the south, beings with animal heads resembling the divinities of the people, but walking the material earth, scheme to turn the human tribes of that region to their will. So there's the start of Mummy. There's no mummies yet, but there will be very, very soon.
The civilization that created them may not even be around yet.
No, they're around. They're starting.
They're around. They're starting. They're just starting, basically.
I love the
Empire.
effort they put into the Geists here.
The Geists are amazing in this one. I really love the take that plasm hasn't become plasm yet. There's no ectoplasm as we know it. It's water. It is brackish salt water from the depths below. So it sucks to be it really sucks to be a sin eater in this time.
Especially since you're dealing with pretty much monstrous undead that like the ghosts from the underworld are in even worse condition than the ones.
Yeah.
So you're even crazier and more mad and basically like half possessed.
I mean, Geists already are half possessed. But that's the thing.
But the ghost is probably driving the seat.
A lot more often, yeah.
Also, can we probably agree that Hunter in this setting would be pain?
Hunter would be awful.
Hunters are those humans that have to deal with them and survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to deal with them with spear.
You have a spear and you have fire, and that's it.
Me and Geg survive the walking owl. How?
The walking
fire.
Owls. Fire. Burn them.
I tie fire stick to pointy stick.
To Shadow Owl, and then when Shadow Owl badly hurt, tie up with rope and leave out for sun to finish.
Or just burn.
Or just burn them. So they go into the werewolf. So basically it's a hybrid of two worlds blending together right now. This is Pangea. The border marches are what the Urathra call Pangea because it's when everything was good for them. It was when they could hunt endlessly because there was prey in both realms simultaneously. Yeah.
The ghosts and people.
Ghosts, people, spirits, all of it. The werewolves were fucking feasting at this time. This was their version of Eden, basically.
And how deep into the wild a traveler needs to reach it can vary wildly, but prey seems to just constantly fall into it.
Yeah.
So if you're unlucky,
and at this time, humans were prey.
Yeah, if you're unlucky, you're just going out to get some water for water for the village. You accidentally just wind up there.
And the border marches are always hunting. Everything is hunting everything else. It's the rules of nature, basically.
Actually, before we get into the werewolves, just because I like to see how chat's doing. Sorry, chat.
Yeah.
Answer stupid internet fight. Ancient shifters were close to being walking spirits in the material world, yeah. How could a Promethean just be an unfortunate Vinca scarecrow? Yeah, that could also be a thing.
Yeah, that could definitely be a thing.
Actually, that reminds me of one of my favorite Junji Ito stories, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
It's a good one. If werewolves aren't forsaken by father, mother, whatever, does that mean spirits and material are just mixing? Yeah, that's kind of the setting at the time.
That's the point of this. That's what's happening right now.
That is the progress of time. We'll get another discovery of Gilgamesh. Oh, sorry, I already read that. Spiritual infected by just seeing another shifter, you become one. Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, that definitely happened in this era.
And it still can happen.
Yeah.
Grug fall from tree or tree push Grug. Cavemen cop mysteries will return after these blood sacrifices.
That's great. I love that.
Death by wombat attack. Not a wise way to go. Aurochs are basically dire cows, yeah?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good description.
Breeding these back into existence seems like the sort of thing Jurassic Park warned about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's call the first cloned one Hashut. A typical campaign. Grugs must deliver entrails to Wolf Grug to hunt big bull hunting near Grug hunts.
That's actually a kind of a good idea for this.
Is World of Darkness spirit world relative and changes upon the location? Yeah, it's
Yes.
kind of like blended.
It reflects a lot of what's going on in reality. Like the spirit world around Auschwitz would be basically hell. There's no doubt about that, because emotions bleed into the spirit world and cause reflections. But at the same time, so do like objects as well. So like trains are giant horses of iron that run along their tracks and stuff like that.
Also, it's in living memory. Like
Yeah,
pretty much if you go to Thunberg Forest, like in the modern day, there probably isn't many angry ghosts. But if you went there even maybe a few hundred years after, the ghosts would be pretty
there might
loud.
still be the occasional screaming legionary.
The ghosts are probably there occasionally. There's not a lot of them, but the spirit world would still show that. That's a huge event, and that's what matters to the spirit world. It's the relevance to humanity.
As long as people remember it.
This is also why, like, why a werewolf setting I want them to do is the red zone in France, because that would be incredibly toxic.
Literally,
like, it would be the Great War, everything left over from that, all of that emotion and bloodshed and just horrific results is still there to this day. You cannot live in some of these areas. You will die. If not from the poisoned groundwater from unexploded ordnance.
Another cool one would be Werewolf Chernobyl.
That would also be fun. Slavic werewolf.
And you you could also even have it be like a Werewolf Promethean tag team.
That would actually be fun. I would totally play Slavic werewolf. As long as I get my Kvass and I can play hard base.
So yeah, basically the spirit world, it's a reflection, and it doesn't really touch anymore. But in this time period, before Father Wolf goes so crazy he basically kills himself from his insanity, it used to bleed into reality. So you could just go on a little journey, journey to get a pail and water.
You could go.
Jack and Jill went up. Jack went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Grug and Grill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. But halfway up the hill, they went to the border march, and werewolves ate their fucking faces off.
Yeah. You saying, Greg?
I was about to say, if you've ever seen The Witch, the 2015 horror movie, think of it like that. The second you leave the walls or just even the borders of your little village, you're in their territory.
You're starting to go into the border marches. Yeah.
You're already regardless, you are in their territory. It's only up to the fucking gods themselves, aka RNG, of whether or not you've been taken.
It depends on how bleeding in the spirit world is.
Yeah.
You literally, as soon as you leave the walls of Earth, you could be in the fucking border marches and you wouldn't know.
Yeah. You wouldn't know, because it's literally, that's reality. That's why it's so dangerous.
That's why that's why Dad Wolf, even though he caused a lot of damage dying, did a lot of good by dying.
Because putting up the gauntlet. Because, okay, so the gauntlet, if you don't know, is basically the border between the spirit world and reality. Now, it can be very thick, in which case it can be kind of bad on both sides, or it can be very thin, in which case it's really bad for this side.
But it's just not only this side, but even spirits are kind of bad off unless they latch onto something.
Well, they're going to latch on to everything in the area, which is really bad for us. It's great for the spirits, because the spirits basically get to feast. It's not so good for us.
Yeah, we have to. The werewolves of modern nights are more or less fighting to preserve the human order as things exist, because
their job was originally to be the hunters in the border march, to keep both sides from going in too much into each other. So with Gauntlet up,
but they kind of fucked that up early on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now with the Gauntlet up, though, it's basically to try to keep things from both sides from interfering with each other too much.
And that's why I like New Werewolf a lot more. It's basically Spirit Border Patrol.
Yeah. Despite whenever you look online, people
Father Wolf is building a big, beautiful wall.
I don't give a shit about Apocalypse. You play your terrible Captain Planet bootleg. You play your terrible Street Sharks Captain Planet crossover. I don't fucking care.
The Street Sharks are fucking amazing. I will hear nothing wrong about the Rokia. They were great.
I don't know. It's just I gotta keep in mind that the guy who fucking did it was also the same man who made Mage 20th Anniversary such a piece of shit.
Yeah. Again, Phil is like, if you can get Phil off of his onto his meds for like an hour or two, you can get some great shit. If he's off of his meds, things go bad.
No, even on his meds, it's a fucking crapshoot. But still,
People wonder.
he made a
people
couple
wonder
good
what...
books.
Yeah.
At one point.
Anyway,
people wonder.
There's more. We'll say when World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, it's good. It's really good. Yeah, Neolithic Awakening would be extra trippy. Rational structured thought takes a lot of cultural background. Yeah, there's none of that here.
Yeah,
There's
literally
you can literally just kind of walk outside your village and you just see the fucking
just
Cthulhu
disappear.
tower.
You're gone. You're fucking dead. You came back yesterday, and you were watching yourself fuck your wife, and it's also you, and you now remember that.
And on top of that, you realize you're not actually the person that walked out. You're the fetch, and the real you is currently being tortured to make hats in Arcadia.
Yeah, like it's not good. Like all of this is nuts.
All this makes you think, how does the Fermi paradox play out in World of Darkness? How did humanity and supernatural both survive at all?
Fuck knows.
It's basically just really good panicking.
It wasn't easy, let's put it that way. It wasn't easy, let's put it that way.
It wasn't.
Yeah. If this is the great filter, then holy fuck.
So what's the next timeline? Oh, it's To the Strongest, and it's so good.
Yes.
But this is gonna get long, and we'll finish.
Let's talk about Werewolf here and finish that off, because
it's important.
This is important. We could literally have 16 hours.
These are all campaign settings with a lot of things put into them.
And yes. To give you an idea, I know for a fact, honestly, I do want to next week do To the Strongest. So
yeah,
while we won't do it this stream because we've gone on quite a bit, it's really powerful. It's a great setting. It is the birth of order. It's so good. Anyway, Werewolf. This is what they see as their great days. This is when their horrible, violent instincts were seen as useful, because it was. Basically, they murdered spirits. They murdered ghosts. They murdered people. They kept things sane, kind of.
Yeah, they also talk about the gods of this realm, which are the Pangeans, which are basically bull, wolf, fox, bird, all those like totem animals that are the first things that humans recognize, and thus are the first things that become spirits.
Oh, by the way, here's another thing. Entering the border marches, it's the shoreline between the steady ground of the physical and the mutable area of the shadow. Any given area has a depth rating, given how far the gap between them lie at that point. The deeper the marches, the harder it is to enter.
Yeah.
And it applies towards both worlds. And depth rating of 1 is not good.
No, it is not.
It is not good.
That means
depth rating of 1 is literally, I just walked right into the fucking shadow. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck.
Dice modifier, automatic.
Yeah, you don't have to roll. You just go in. You are in the spirit world now, and it's going to be very, very bad for you.
Get your stick out and begin moving it in a circle really fast.
So most of the time, depth is usually between 3 and 5, and that's fine, although 3 is a little dangerous.
Yeah, like, again, it's kind of dangerous still. It's like, oh, fuck.
Like, 5 and 4 are fine.
Yeah, 5 and 4 are basically the gauntlet.
3 is kind of safe. 2, humans at this point know going to areas of 2 is not a good place.
Like, this is a dangerous spot in the forest. Don't go here.
And one is we can't leave our houses. We're too scared to leave.
No, 1 is we don't even live there. Literally, there's probably signs in Vinca glyphs saying "fucking leave."
There's literally, like, people have mounted dead animals onto poles outside of this, and like,
well, no, if they do that, the animals would come back to life, and the skulls would talk to you probably.
Yes, and it's like, no, this isn't good. Like, no, don't go here. Don't go here.
There's probably a werewolf right there saying, "Are you dumb enough to walk there?
Are you dumb enough?
If you say yes, he kills you.
Dare you enter my magical realm?
Dare you enter this horrible place? And if you say yes, he just instantly fucking kills you."
So they also talk about Father Wolf is not a spirit. Basically, there's not much of a distinction in the
modern.
modern.
Sorry, I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah,
they're similar to spirits, but they're the true natives of the border. Basically, unlike spirits, which live in the shadow and spirit realm,
they live between.
Pangaians were born in the border marches,
molded by it.
Unlike spirits, they're not reflections of the world; they're pillars.
Yeah, So this is why when mages killed Fox, things went bad.
Not just
Like,
Fox.
really
They
bad.
remember they killed way more than Fox. They probably killed Badger, Auroch, fucking
Auroch is
Chickadee.
Bull.
Oh yeah, Bull is fine.
By the way, remember the bull shifters that I referenced from
Rabbit.
Yeah, the ones that are divinely ordained.
Guess what? Guess why they have their rages? Guess why they did all
Mama?
this?
Did someone murder
No, they didn't
Mama
murder.
Bull?
No, humans slighted
They stole
Father Bull.
Bull. No, they killed Bull. Mages killed Bull, and that's the thing that they have to deal with, which drives them crazy. Is that they consider themselves the defenders of people. But people killed their father. It's the dichotomy of being our domesticated animal. To do that, you have to give up what you were before.
Yeah, they are literal pillars. So like mages killed Bull eventually, Fox first, probably something like there's probably rabbit, chicken, pigeon.
Yeah, they go into a lot of the other bits about the fact is that the moon in this era, because remember that Pangeans and spirits don't really have a gender, so Mother and Father Moon, Mother Moon and Father Wolf is basically a modern term for it. It basically doesn't matter.
Yeah, in this time period, the wolf people, the Uratha just call their creator Urfra.
Yeah,
he is the great predator. That's what they mean.
He is the wolf. He is literally what a wolf is. He is everything that a wolf should be. He is the platonic ideal of a wolf.
Bird and snake dwelt in the vast rivers. Rat once carved out a warren of tunnels. Bull, that's another one. Bull. Spring, the god of spring also lives here.
Yep, all of them live here. And you must hunt. You have to hunt. This is the best thing about them.
Many Pangians have fallen to wolf's jaws, their souls cracked and shattered. Rat and spider and mountain and others besides.
Yes,
because that's another thing. When Fox was killed, Wolf went crazy and started slaughtering the others, like more than usual.
I think that no, he was hunting them already. I don't know. Maybe he realized he could kill them. There's nothing concrete about that. That's a great theory, though.
Like maybe it originally was represented like it was a great game, and Wolf always won.
Yeah.
And then
now
Mage
it's no longer a game.
Mage was like, "We am God. Watch what we do to Fox." Rips heart out from corpse.
Yeah.
And the stench of fox meat.
And now Father Wolf realizes he can kill for the first time, and it's like, oh fuck.
Like you know how dogs play around and like nip. That's probably what Father Wolf did originally. Maybe that's what Father Wolf did originally.
Who knows?
I've got a really bad metaphor. You know how?
Or maybe when mages played We Am God, they changed reality so the gods could die.
Yeah. I was gonna say, remember how sometimes when you can just go a long time without eating, but the second you put food in your mouth, you realize how fucking starving you are.
That is pretty accurate.
Maybe when the mages killed Fox, they altered something inimical to reality.
Who knows? Those mages don't know because they're all probably fucking dead.
They're all dead. They're all horribly dead.
Yeah, this is also the start of all the different bits of the werewolf tribes and their totems. Because remember, all of Father Wolf's children didn't agree on the fact that they should put Old Yeller down.
Yeah, all of them at the moment are ghost wolves.
Sort of. There's some sects
and
there's some cults.
Ghost wolves.
Effectively, yeah. The first pack.
They consider themselves the perfect hunters. Cracks are showing not all Uratha are happy with this simple existence.
Yeah.
They also test, yep. Some are getting tired of the eternal cycle of hunting, gorging on meat in essence.
Yeah, and also let's note that natural weapons are always the bane of Pangeans. They are built to hunt gods.
Wolf is getting old, slowing, faltering, and Uratha see it in no fear.
Yeah, because his firstborn, remember, the one of the things about Forsaken is that Forsaken mirrors Masquerade in terms of like the father is eaten by his children, and that's why they're Forsaken. It also let's go into the fact that the wolf doesn't give a shit about the werewolves. The firstborn are the ones that give a shit about the werewolves. which are the spirits that came out of Father Wolf that are various aspects of him, like
hunger.
Yeah.
The Silver
Like
Bane, yes, werewolves are affected by silver as their bane before the Sundering. In later millennia, the Uratha believed this to be the mark of Luna's wrath after the killing of Father Wolf. In this era, werewolves simply accepted as the sign of the patronage of the warden. Basically, in this time period, their weakness to silver was reasoned that it's the warden's blessing, which is this is just like an odd quirk of it.
Well, this is the fact. It's the sign of, because remember, it's a reflection of the moon. It's what it's using the moon to harm them. Their protector to harm them.
Also, it's kind of hard to get silver. Like, obviously, mining is beginning, but
it's really hard to get
you're
silver.
You're not going to be fucking crafting a silver sword.
The Grug hunter will almost certainly not know about silver weakness.
Yeah.
At most, maybe one of the wise gets like a nugget of silver.
Might no.
Yeah, they need this hunter to get a nugget of silver, and then sling it in his fucking face.
A single wise in like one village might know, or like an occasional one might pick that up. But like a hunter, they'll probably just be like, no, you use fire and hope you don't die, and you get like 100 others to fight.
So the thing with Forsaken cosmology is that, as I mentioned, there's the two splits in the Society of Werewolves, which is the pure and the Forsaken. The pure are the ones who have their firstborn did not want to kill Father Wolf and did not participate. The Forsaken are those that did, and that's where things get into brother killing brother.
From humanity, as humanity flourish and werewolf grow in number, so does Pangaea fade. Packs build their lair in the dens of the border march. They also seek mates from humanity. Other sects hold this attachment to humanity as a weakness. So there are those that that still admire humanity to a degree, and they like.
There's still those that like him, but there's those that don't.
And then there's those who hold it as weakness.
There's also those that think that their job is to protect humans. There's also those that think their job is to eat humans. It really does depend on which of the firstborn you're following.
Individuals and packs travel more than human communities. Glory of the hunt. The hunt is sacred. They understand they have a holy duty. They are the wardens of Pangaea. They are to maintain Urfara's law as lesser aspects of him.
And that's the thing that's been the same since basically the beginning. The wolf must hunt.
Some have resented even this duty, rejecting their heritage. They attempt to build their different life. Some becomes tyrants in the flesh.
Yeah.
Others delve deep into the shadow, forming cults that reject the great predator in favor of something else.
Yep.
Fire of the Hunt refuses to burn out, though. Sooner or later, this denial of nature leads them to madness, rage, and destruction. Then the father, firstborn, in the first pack. Ifra was distant as the offspring of the moon, but many find the idea ridiculous. Werewolves are born from humanity, not wolves. More common is the story that in the earliest days of the border marches, shards of wolf's souls were torn from his body as it struggled with the other Pangaeans, and those shards found root in the fertile flesh of humanity.
Which is probably what happened.
Some even believe that Pangaea formed spontaneously from wolf at the beginning of time, and that both humans and Uratha were born in that maelstrom. Regardless, werewolves see themselves as an echo of him.
Yeah. Again, the other thing to note here is that the first pack is the really important bit. That's the firstborn. That's
the great
Destroyer
predator
Wolf,
once laid
Dire
the mightiest
Wolf.
Spirits of wolves in the shadow, for even a Pangaean progenitor needs solace from the struggles of the hunt. So Papa Wolf got busy.
Fucked mountain. Yeah, he fucked some mountains.
Became parent to a brood of squabbling brats, the firstborn, potent wolf beings that serve Urfara's heralds and messengers. And they were allowed free passages to indulge their own interests, which was probably a big fucking mistake. Firstborn show greater attention to Uratha than their parents, than the sex of werewolf, and this is where the packs come from.
Yeah, this is where all the tribes come from. They even go down into like a couple of more pages, which is the 61 and 62, where they go over the groups of werewolves that are starting to arise. As
among the firstborn are widely known across the world, heralds of the great predator like Destroyer Wolf, Dire Wolf, or the terrible Sky Hunters. While others like Black Wolf or Wolf Who Whispers roam more limited ranges, a few focus all their efforts on building power only in an area, like the Opalescent and Incandescent Twins.
That's the Morden Moon and the Glorious Sun.
The first pack are monsters, snarling, snapping, and slavering. This court of ancient werewolves follows the great predator in shadow and join directly in the hunt. Eratha venerate them as progenitors of the species, but only the eldest, fiercest Eratha would willingly go near them.
Yeah.
Okay, I just vomited a little in my mouth because I read ahead and something made me. Ugh.
I like depressed elk there.
Depressed elk. He's
depressed
accepted
elk.
his
It's
fate.
dead. It's dead.
It's accepted its fate.
Yeah.
No, he's not dead. He's just like, well, I'm fucked.
I just read. Sorry, ahead. I just read some of the story seeds and things ahead, and mostly fine. But I kind of something at the end made me want to die a bit.
Oh yeah,
inside.
the bullshifter one. Yeah.
No, the inspirations.
Oh yeah. I thought that one.
Please don't. Adam, if you value wanting to enjoy yourself, don't read inspirations.
Well, I will anyway because fuck this stream, you know.
Okay,
come on, everyone. If Greg has to suffer, you have to suffer, and so do I.
All right, let's just go through the story seeds real quick about this.
So Warden Moon, blah blah blah, changing world. The Pangaea is ending. Eratha culture is changing, provoked by the weakening of the Great Predator, and the Firstborn are basically causing havoc. Once humanity was mostly ignored as anything beyond a source of basically new family.
And also, but now they've fucking killed gods.
Yeah, not only that, but like they're growing in number, so they're becoming more interesting, and especially since they're like getting weapons and shit.
Yeah.
Many werewolves fear they know why. Once the hunt dominated all the world, not just the border marches, but throughout the flesh as well. Humanity, though, has shattered the cycle. Humanity hunt, yes, but it's not the totality of their existence. They've broken the earth and massacred the herd. They'd settled. They changed. Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm getting Warhammer Beastmen vibes.
Yeah.
It's like anarcho-primitivists.
Some of them are. Okay, so first off, there's the sects of werewolves here. There's the loyal, which are basically saying that Father Wolf can't die. No. And
these become the pure.
These are the start of the pure.
The hunt cannot end. The Great Predator's ancestor, the weak and shriveling faith of their descendants, is the true poisoning.
Yeah. The Cull blame humanity and their disproportionate impact on the symbolism of the world. By refusing to hunt like surly children, they're killing Papa. So the solution...
ruthlessly
keep population.
Kill them all!
The field burn.
The solution is literally genocide. The Maw are kinslayers, right? So their thought is this, right? What must be done is we need to start killing other werewolves because we're all shards of Father Wolf, right?
Wolf must eat wolf.
Wolf must eat wolf so that they will return to Father Wolf and make him stronger. The shepherds are the ones that are looking at humanity like, they're able
to hunt like Great Wolf because they've killed gods.
Yeah,
maybe they're the way forward. Maybe they're the way forward.
Yeah.
They've killed gods, so why not?
So if more like, because Father Wolf's getting weaker, we need to do more, and to do more, we need to manipulate humans. So they're trying to make them worship Father Wolf, and make more wolf-blooded and things like that.
Also, they'll intentionally drive humans nuts to basically produce more wolf bloods in their own children.
Yes, and spirit claimed, so that they can eat them. So, but yeah, so then there's the inheritors who believe that the time has come to kill Father Wolf and take over.
Because like the pack, like the real pack, old wolves eventually die, and it's up to their children to live to keep the hunt going.
Yeah, and the Devourers, they literally want to eat Papa.
They want to eat him. They're gonna go and fucking eat him. The next one is the Mourners, which is basically saying that they're going to fucking die. We're going to have to give up what we've got. These are kind of where this Forsaken's culture somewhat come from, is definitely the Mourners.
These are our final knights, except
these are the what now? The Forsaken? These are where they come from?
I'm assuming that this is probably where they come from in terms of their thoughts, at least the main branches of them, which is that we need to kill Father Wolf. We need to get rid of him. We need to put him the fuck down. We need to
kill Father Wolf, and the Gauntlet was a good thing.
The Gauntlet's the best thing that could possibly happen.
Then they're the Tyrants.
Which are
basically just
assholes.
They're assholes, yeah. They're basically they're opportunist werewolves that go into the human society and just
use their power. They just want to use their power to flex.
They've given up on anything, and they just want to do what they want.
So I love some of these, by the way. I love this. With the concepts for the story seeds, the Babbling Tower is literally a Tower of Babel because it's ran by a spirit that should not exist, which is an Enigma.
Precious stone and work and masonry, and like people ever seen, possible proportion, no entrance stage sounds echo from the interior. Babel, Tower of Babel.
It's the Tower of Babel, basically, which I think it's cute. I enjoy it.
The Citadel of the Moon.
The Citadel of the Moon is okay. I think
it's
that the
more
Citadel
like
of the Moon.
Babbling Tower is a lot better though.
Babbling Tower is a lot of fun.
War's lonely children. War breaks out. 2 villages declare they can no longer tolerate the other. It's a petty slight. Basically vendetta.
Basically, they're starting the start of war. Is sort of the idea behind this.
I actually personally like Unstoppable Souls because it's the bull people.
Unstoppable Souls is the best one.
Are great.
Flat out. So basically, they go over the bull people. Basically, like come from the horns of the bull. And
wait a minute, these are like Hittites or some shit. Gleaming copper
better.
And white ivory.
Yeah. They've learned that, oh yeah, we need to that you guys have pieces of bull's soul and heart because you killed him.
We want it back.
We want it back. Because
I like that.
This is a good one because the basically it's minotaurs from it's the bull people from War Against the Pure, and they're trying to take over the world, and I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're building like they're kind of like the proto Hittites or whatever.
Yeah, I love them because they're going to.
They are not the horde. They are the herd.
Yeah, so basically they make a point that like the humans, they're also trying to steal bull shifter like the wolf blooded because they don't create their own, but they need to breed.
It's also possible, like, maybe these are the guys that eventually absorb the Yinka.
Yeah, it's completely possible.
Maybe they're like the nomad people.
Yeah, again, it's a fun one. Inspirations, though, the first one's a pretty good one.
Yep, real-life archaeology is always great. Budget-conscious gamer doesn't have much resource. Internet's your best bet. That's not a great decision, because then you'll say the Vinca were created by aliens.
As an overview, yeah, of the Neolithic specifics about the Vinca and even details into
the Copper Age. All Vinca were a Middle Neolithic culture, so they had mostly stone, but sometimes they'll have like
copper tools. Yes, they will have some.
The occasional copper tool, maybe
usually
a gold
an axe
necklace or two.
And they'll have a lot. They'll have other metals.
Also, there will be no swords. Swords were not really invented until post-Egypt.
Swords were not. Yeah. Well, actually, until like
Old Kingdom Egypt.
Old Kingdom Egypt is really the start of it, but there were a few other examples of big knives from earlier than
knives,
this.
But a proper sword.
I mean, a sword is basically just a giant knife.
The difference is those big knives usually had other purposes.
They have taken piece of metal and given it.
The difference between a sword and a knife, my man, is a knife always has a secondary functions besides murder. A sword is only designed to murder.
What they did is the Bullman has taken a piece of metal and given it edge. That's all he's done.
Bullman has created the first bronze axe. He I don't know, maybe a copper axe would be fine too.
I mean, actually, he made a pick. He just took metal and kind of slammed it into wood.
All right.
The sharp end.
Chronicles of Ancient Darkness is a historical fantasy series of novels. Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Terrible.
A very terrible decision here with Legend of Korra.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like the inspiration. It's both attempt to shill for their own works, I think so, because it feels like Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. Doesn't that kind of fucking sound like
it's a different series.
It's a completely different series.
Okay. I thought they were trying to like shill for like one of their own like books.
No.
They're more talking about the style. I honestly think that a good example of something like this would be the episode. Remember the Panda Spirit in the original Avatar run? That episode?
That's a better choice than using Legend of Korra.
Is a fantastic episode idea for this.
Also, remember the spirit that would steal your face if you made an expression?
Yes. That's very much a Pangean.
Yep, humanity is shaped by the endless wilderness around it. That's why, again, I don't think Legend of Korra works, but the original Avatar does.
Does, yeah.
Wait, well, they're talking about in, like the second and third season when they get all the flashbacks in the first Avatar and the yin and the yang.
Oh, that was when they got lazy. Yeah.
Yeah, really lazy.
I'm not gonna lie. Just a side tangent. I know we're getting near the end. You want to know what made me not interested in Korra?
What?
When I saw fucking skyscrapers in a city skyline, I instantly lost interest when I saw that.
I watched the first episode and I was like, okay.
No, as soon as I saw it wasn't gonna be kind of like a mystical adventure thing, I was like, okay, fuck off.
Yeah.
Bye. And I think I was smart.
1920s, the 1920s. I really like the 1920s.
Also, here is a prelude of what you will see next time.
A hop. It looks like a hoplite fighting off, and a priestess fighting off
spirits.
Hell.
Angry, starving spirits of war.
Daemon. Well, no, daemons.
Yeah,
spirits
as
of
they
war.
be referred to.
And this is the start of To the Strongest, which I guess is where we'll pick up next time.
Definitely. Sorry about that. The intro took a while, and it's just Grug Mage.
The intro's really good. And Grug Mage is fantastic. Grug Mage is...
And Grug Werewolf is also interesting, but not as, in my opinion.
No, like, it's hard to beat Grug Mage, as we are literally killing gods and breaking the world. Like, that is one of the coolest things about Grug Mage.
Well, there's also the fact that, like, it is a setting you don't usually see. You're the village. You are in the village. The village is your lifeline. And any other villages you run into could be a problem, but probably maybe won't. It's rare to find shelter in these times.
Yeah. You're not traveling around.
But you can literally die if you sleep outside.
Yeah. And if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you're going to become a fucking walking monstrosity of flesh and spirit.
And if you're really unlucky, you'll find a legion of Geists who just refuse to die and have formed like a war band to kill those who have wronged them as like the Avenging Sons.
Yeah, like that's what's fun about this.
That could be an interesting for To the Strongest. That could be an interesting Geist mercenary band where they're just known as the Nemesis. They're literally possessed by ghosts who've died during like Alexander's campaign, going after like generals who have been responsible for their death.
Yeah, that could actually be a really fun campaign.
Like Scions of Nemesis, they're called, and they like dress as Nemesis to try to go after those who have wronged them.
I do have to say though, the Chronicles of Darkness bit with talking about these early Neolithic bits is probably the best section of this book. Of this chapter. It's really informative. It's really clever.
It's a good start. It's a great
start if you have no clue about any of that.
If you have no clue about any of the start of World of Darkness, like, or any of the splat lines, I'd honestly say that if you wanted to get somebody into it, would be to start them in something like this.
I wouldn't say necessarily that, but if you want something simple that could be entertaining, although I will say you do lose a lot of some of the appeal because you are not literal cavemen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a one-shot start. Like, I would totally do for a one-shot start something like the Babbling Tower.
Babbling Tower would be pretty sweet. So guessing areas that are well known and frequented by humans tend to have a higher depth rating? Kinda.
Yes. Basically, this is how the gauntlet works as well. The more human stuff there is, usually it's harder to get through. So, like, built-up areas are usually less likely to see spirits break through, but on the Shadow, it's very much a mirror of a city.
There's also the fact that sometimes just it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're like on a loci.
Yeah, if you're on a loci or if you're on a place where like the rats have been gnawing through the gauntlet, it can get weird.
Or you just have the unfortunate pleasure of having wolf hunt on these grounds.
You know, recently. I just realized if you really wanted to, a perfectly viable Chronicle of Darkness games would take place in the town that Uzumaki took place in.
Yeah.
That's a perfectly viable loci.
I should also mention that one of the reasons why I love the spirit world is that, you know how supermarkets are kind of weird in our world? Well, imagine that like there's spirits of shopping carts and brands all trying to consume each other in the middle of these giant networks where like Walmart is a giant entity in and of itself, and inside of it is smaller spirits. That's basically
each other.
Yeah. And you have to go and try to
marked by a pile of stones. Maybe, but the pile of stones might have faces that talk to you.
Yeah, you're gonna
Or
get to
you'll
the
hear
point where the
laughter
stones
and
might
gurgling
move,
noises.
or worse, the stones might move.
And intentionally trick you to the wrong path.
Yeah, because spirits want to get you. You're full of essence, delicious, delicious,
A lot
delicious
of those in
essence.
archaeological record, bulls feel betrayal. Yeah, they're not happy, but they still want to fulfill what bulls, because bull enter like friendly hand in heart entrance to people.
And then we fucking murdered him. Like, that's the other thing,
Because
right?
it was useful. Because it was useful to us.
Yeah.
The wise invented the literal concept of deicide. Yeah, they am not become gods. They am kill God.
Yeah.
They am murder God.
Yeah. That's the other bit about this that I really, really enjoy.
Remember that it was refluxed that the Tremere were refluxed as mages, not vampires, for a reason.
It's really fitting too for the Tremere. I like New World.
Can't you
nice.
see that it was like those kind of, there was the kind of same mindset of the Tremere that made these mages think, yeah, let's murder the gods.
And that's a big theme of Awakening, is that mages are dicks.
A sapient material species conquers their planet spirit realm purview, then show up to Chronicles of Darkness Earth. Panic, you god alien spirits versus mages.
That might be what Indagam are. We don't know.
Or worse, alien comes alone as they've killed their spirits and gods. An inversion where material reality is supernatural in the eyes of the supernatural spirit.
Yeah, there's like, you can get some wonky shit out of Werewolf.
I can't wait to
with...
go around calling a claymore a butter sword. Oh yeah, they're using the flashback, but I don't give a shit. Korra's garbage. Like, why do that when you can use the far superior the Panda Spirit episode and the one where they have to go to the spirit that steals people's faces?
Yeah, or the Moon Spirit episode.
The Moon Spirit episode's also quite nice. Sorry, I'm late. What's up? Well, not much. We're just wrapping up pretty much. All in all, this is just scenario 1, Grug Mage, the Sundered World. If we had to give these numbers, or actually we do have our own personal rating system.
Yeah, let's go for a rating.
Well, we usually have the best is, I think, playable.
No, playable is like good, like exceptional or whatever.
Because I know there's garbage fire. I think playable is semi-functional. Decent was the highest. But that's damning with faint praise. I would say good.
I'd honestly say exceptional.
Exceptional. We could always use amazing. We could always borrow from the analysis videos, because amazing is like what we use for pretty high tier stuff. Mm-hmm. Grug Mage.
You know what? I'm gonna use. I forget their names, but rent it with rent it, buy it, or buy and rent it or buy it. I'd say buy this. It's worth it.
I would say this is an amazing module. On the mage hand, it's amazing. On the Aratha one, I'm just gonna say it's good. It's nothing wrong with werewolf. It's just they're kind of like, it's kind of like a sword.
Well, that's not the selling point of this. It's not really even the selling point of this one.
Yeah, Grug Mages. But there's also the matter that with werewolf, it's kind of a sword. It has one purpose.
Yeah, the wolf must hunt.
Like, it's not a very complex situation. It's not like mages, which would change both in this and what I think is probably the best module in this is to the strongest, just based on the idea.
Also, you can actually buy individual parts of this book if you don't care about anything else.
Yeah, you can do it on their site.
On the Drive-Thru RPG.
So if you just want Grug Mage, just go to Drive-Thru RPG and it should be there.
Yeah.
I think it should come with the werewolf part. It should come with the werewolf part too.
It will.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to get this yourself, though, you still will need the core Chronicles book and whatever splat you want to play with.
Mainly because it's the only way you can kind of understand, since it's not enough for that. It's the only weakness, but it's fine.
Yeah. I think that...
Yeah, they still gotta make their money.
I mean, the nice thing about the core books of the second edition is that they included all the rules you needed just to play the game anyway. Compared to first edition, where they did not include anything with that, which meant you had to actually have the core book as well.
So I think with the final, I will say as we leave for this, yeah, we're gonna have to edit since we're starting to do books that aren't hot fucking garbage anymore. We do need to include good and amazing, because we have decent and then playable, I think.
You know what? We have idea, gang. Can Greg present idea?
You have
Yes.
you have Brainword.
Since I've been holding on for the game I want to choose, since you've already had it, I have idea, and I'll put it to the vote to the others in the Discord. I'm gonna be making this up now. For my choice that I'm gonna force on all of them, what should we do? Street Fighter the RPG made by White Wolf, or if we wait a while, Modifius's Fallout RPG.
Ooh,
that is coming out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the vote in the Discord. So for all you fuckers, go to our Discord.
Speaking of which, let me see if I can link to it, because I am not I am not a clever man, so sometimes I'm not the smartest with that. How do I do? You're getting to see me boomer it up right now. It's amazing. I'll figure it out eventually. Invite people. There we go.
So we spent nearly. I want to know something.
There we go.
This was just one section of a book.
There you guys go.
And we've spent about 2.5 hours on it.
About 2 hours, yeah. 45 minutes, I'm gonna say, on the intro.
Yeah.
It's a good book when you can talk about that much.
Yeah. That's how dense and content-rich this book is.
It is as dense as the campaign settings in Thirsty Sword Lesbians, but it's not trash.
Yeah.
It's good.
And the best part about it is that it just doesn't just give you like a bunch of stats for random NPCs in a campaign with it. It's like, hey, we'll give you some stat blocks. We'll give you some stuff for that sort of thing.
Here's how fucked you are if you fight an Auroch.
Answer, pretty fucked.
It's not good. But it's more of it lets you, the storyteller, figure it out.
And that's one of Chronicles' strong points.
So yeah,
they get a bit more specific with like Berlin, but they kind of have to. But you know.
Anyway, I think since it's almost 11 p.m., we can sign off. And
yeah,
I don't know when the next stream will be. Probably maybe
again,
there'll be one Wednesday. Maybe we'll do To the Strongest Wednesday.
Yeah. So all right, rating for this overall, I gave it an amazing. Adam.
Amazing and good, because I have to split the mage and the werewolf. It's not that I have a problem with werewolf. It's just it's kind of like a sword where it has one function.
All right, and Greg.
I say this is quite good.
Okay. So overall, amazing to good. Would recommend. Again, there's a lot of books that I say buy, and I admit that I'm a bit of a White Wolf fanboy, but this is a fantastic book. Is just even for like historical games you might run with other systems, or ideas for other RPG stuff, like for fantasy worlds, because there's a lot of good stuff in here for that.
And I posted the Discord? Posted the Google I posted the thing, so go in there and oh god, I'm feeling the rice wine.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll see you next time with To the Strongest.
We'll see you next time. To the Strongest, and we will build a road to tier, and we will make them pay for it.
See ya.
From India to